Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And on this glorious Friday, we have, descending from his imperial throne, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett is here. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Speaking of that, I just keep hearing Darth Vader's voice in my head, John. In my head. It goes through, it doesn't get out. I don't know why.
Well, listen, guys, obviously, one of the things we're going to be talking about here today is this new Star Wars spot. This minute and 30-second mini trailer. It's not a TV spot, because those are 30 seconds. It's a minute 30-second long trailer, which, I have not been impressed by the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker ad campaign. You all know this. I have not been impressed by it. But we're going to talk about this new spot in a little bit. We're going to talk about the fact that Shazam 2 has officially got a release date. We've been talking a lot about the fact that Robert De Niro is not getting nominated for Irishman, but guess what? Willem Dafoe from Lighthouse has not been getting nominated. We're going to be talking about that a little bit too. Also, Quiet Place 2 dropped its first trailer in front of Jumanji last night. We're going to get into all that, but before we do, let's go off the top with this. We're going to start off here by talking about the aforementioned Jumanji. I had a chance last night to go and watch Jumanji. For those of you who are subscribed to the YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed, take a second, click that subscribe button, guys. You guys saw that I put up my quick right out of the theater reaction to Jumanji, The Next Level. I did not like the first trailer to this movie. And then they put out a couple more trailers, and I actually quite liked the follow-up trailers, so my anticipation started to get a little bit bigger. And I'll tell you what, this is what I said in my video last night. I will repeat it here. This is not as good as the first Jumanji movie, I believe. But it's close. This is an entertaining movie that has good laughs, some good... Actually, I'll go so far as to say I believe the action in this film was actually better than the action in the first Jumanji movie. I think there was some better choreographed fights and stuff like that. There was a couple of cast members in it that I'm not going to spoil anything just in case it's not public knowledge, but there's a couple of cast members, and they're not just cameos either. A couple of cast members that I didn't realize were in the movie that was actually pretty cool to see. The laughs are there. The effects are good. I knew I was starting to like the Danny Glover and Danny DeVito manifestations in Kevin Hart and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It really does work. It really does work and works really well. I was not happy at first when I realized it would be different characters in different avatars this time, just because I love the ones from the first one. But it really does work. It really does work. Now, the one knock on it is that as we were getting into the third act of the movie, I started feeling like, okay, this whole Jumanji thing, going from the first movie into this movie, the whole thing about the kids in this world and inhabiting these bodies and, what do I do with this body? As we were getting into the third act and progressing through the third act, I started to feel, yep, this shtick is now played out. This shtick is now done. That's not to say the third act wasn't good. It is good. It's just that by the time the movie ended, I was like, yeah, I hope they don't make another one, because I think now they've stretched this shtick as far as they can go, and they've given us two really solid, entertaining movies in the process of doing it, and I really quite enjoyed it very much. And then there's a post-credits scene, Rob, that actually maybe go from, okay, this shtick is now played out, good time to end it, blah, blah, blah. And then there's this post-credit scene, and I won't reveal at all what happens in the post-credit scene, but something happens in the post-credit scene that's a little bit different, and I'm like, oh, maybe you can do another one. I mean, again, it's hard to go into without spoilers, but again, I thought Kevin Hart doing Danny Glover was great. And The Rock doing Dan DeVito was really funny and good too, but Kevin Hart doing Danny Glover stole the show for me. I just thought he was incredible. Karen Gillan is I don't know. I have a mad
crush on her.
I don't know how this girl gets number one Like she's got a rock-like screen presence in the sense that when she's on screen, boom, she owns the screen, man. And whether it's because of The Rock that he's got, that, Rock's, undeniable good looks and charm and the way he carries himself, and Karen's got those undeniably good looks and charm and charisma as well. But I even liked her better in this one than I did in the first one. And yeah, it's just, again, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as the first. But I still walked out really entertained, and I had really a good time with it. And I think, look, I didn't go into it expecting The Irishman. I didn't go into it expecting Othello. And for what I was expecting, it delivered that in spades. So, I don't know, Rob, I've never asked you, I don't think, like, have you even been looking forward to this movie?
Yeah, because, here's the thing about the first Jumanji. I mean, I shouldn't say the first Jumanji. Let's call it the Jumanji reboot, reimagining. I didn't have a lot of faith in that movie. And it's one of those movies that I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. I was delightfully surprised by that film. Again, it's wildly entertaining. I don't think it was supposed to be anything but being wildly entertaining. And I thought they're updating what they did with the premise. I mean, that could have gone horribly awry.
Oh, it could have gone south so fast.
And it was they figured out the perfect casting, the perfect premise. It was just so much fun to watch. And even a jaded movie fan with one foot in his grave like myself can watch a movie like that Jumanji reboot. What do you call it? I don't know. Prequel. It's not a prequel. It's a requel.
Requel. Yeah,
a requel. It was just delightful. So I am looking forward to this film. And what's funny is, we already had an epic win with that first Jumanji. Now with this, when we're talking about, well, it's not as good as the first, but you said it's close, that's an epic win. Because remember when we used to get sequels that were, well, John, you could have Highlander 2. and so if you get a sequel to a movie that you already really like, that you found wildly entertaining, and let's face it, anybody in the family, Jumanji was a 4-quadrant film. You could all go. The family could go. And to have that kind of, and the actors are clearly, I love watching movies where the actors are clearly having a ball. And these actors look, at least in the trailer and hearing what you say, they get to do something new. Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson are doing something new, which is hilarious. So why wouldn't they have had a great time? Did you see that clip of Danny DeVito and The Rock crashing a wedding when they were on a press tour? I want to say it was in like Brazil or something.
No, I didn't. Oh my gosh, how awesome would that have been?
I mean, obviously they videotaped, they shot it, they digitally captured it. So it's not like it came out of the blue, but it looked like the people at the wedding were pretty surprised that Danny DeVito and The Rock were on some press tour, and they just went into this wedding that was at a hotel. And I'm like, these guys must have had a blast.
By the way, I should point out one other thing that was a highlight that I was wondering going into. Of course, remember in the first Jumanji, Jack Black does such a great job as a high school blonde girl, right? This one, we knew he was being inhabited by the big football player. I think was his name Fridge? Is that was anyway? And I'm like, how's Danny DeVito going to pull that off without it coming across him as offensive in any way? He nails it again.
You mean Jack Black?
Jack Black. What did I say?
You said Danny DeVito.
Sorry. No, Jack Black. Jack Black totally nailed it again. He totally nailed it again. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the new Jumanji movie. Did some of you guys have a chance to go out to see it last night? What did you maybe some of you liked it even more than the first one. I don't know. Maybe you didn't like it at all. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. Let's do this next thing off the top. Which is this, Rob? It's Friday. It's Friday. That means it's Mandalorian Day.
Or as I like to say, Mandalorian morning.
That's a good one, Mandalorian morning.
I get up, I feed the dogs, I brew the coffee, and then Elizabeth and I, beginning at like 6:30, watch The Mandalorian.
I had trouble getting to sleep last night. So I was still awake at like around 1 a.m. just laying in bed. And so I thought, you know what? I just grabbed my iPad, opened the Disney Plus app just to see if it was there. It was there. So I'm like, all right.
It's the longest episode.
And it was the longest maybe a little bit shorter than the original. I'm not sure. But it was.
I don't think so. I think it was a little longer.
Well, if it wasn't one of the longest, then it was the longest one. And I sat down. I can't remember. What was the name of the episode? I can't remember. Was it Gun? No, that was the last one. I can't remember. But at any rate, I got to tell you, last week's episode was the first episode I truly did not like. I did not like last week's episode at all. To me, it didn't do anything to increase our understanding of the Mandalorian himself, to evolve the relationships between any of them, to give us any further background, or further the storyline. It's okay. You don't have to do all those things in every episode. You don't. But you got to do at least one of those things in an episode to make it quasi-interesting. They went right back to it here. They didn't miss a beat after the last one. They went right back into it. This is an episode that gives us a little bit better understanding of the galaxy. It gives us more of a picture of the Mandalorian's background. a little bit more into who and what he is. Of course, you got to have a little bit of dose of Baby Yoda in there as well. So they did that, but actually Baby Yoda involved in a little bit of a Home Alone sequence going on. I'm not going to give away we're not going to go drastic spoilers here, but you know, and also some very pleasant cameos. You know, most of you guys won't even recognize them, but 3 of the directors of Mandalorian, including Dave Filoni, Deborah Chow, and Femi Yua, are actually in this episode, as well as a face you may not recognize, but a voice you will recognize, is also in this as well. Good action, neat characters. I don't know that it was my favorite episode of Mandalorian so far, Rob, but for me, it was a really nice breath of fresh air, it getting back on the horse. Because, you know, once a show starts going bad, it's hard to recover from that. Momentum's a tough thing to break. And I really felt like last week's episode was a throwaway episode. I was a little bit worried it might continue down the path. This one jumped right back on the horse for me, and away we go. Now, I already know one thing about this episode that you probably didn't like, although you and I haven't talked about it yet. But I know that sometimes you're not completely satisfied with how maybe Mando can sometimes fare in combat himself. Maybe sometimes he's not as dominant as we would like, but still, whatever. I like this. Oh, and it was great to see a face from Sons of Anarchy. It's great seeing Bobby from Sons of Anarchy pop up in there. That excited me. That made me feel good. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to watch this latest episode of Mandalorian. What did you think?
Well, I really liked it because it touched on one of my favorite genres of film or story, which is men on a mission. You know, I love gathering a team of disparate people to accomplish some goal. And in this case, we had aliens and droids and men on missions and Twi'leks. And I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect, really. And you know what? I liked the action in this episode. I like what we got to see from the Mandalorian. I like what we got to see from everyone. There was a lot of funny stuff in it. It was action. My only criticism of the episode was the first 15 minutes had this breakneck pace that I'm like, all right, you know, I'm into this. I love what was going on. And then when they actually got to the mission part of it, it seemed like it suddenly slowed down. And I'm like, shouldn't you guys be moving a little faster? You know, it seemed, I thought the pacing, I had a pacing issue, but I understand it, but it just seems like, I think these episodes have a lot of walking in them, and like I've always said, I think people should run some more, especially when you have a ticking clock. That's something that has bothered me. That was very apparent. But on the other hand, really enjoyed this episode a lot. I thought it was beautifully directed. I liked the lore, the expansion of the Star Wars lore. We sort of found out a little bit more about the Star Wars universe post Return of the Jedi, which I thought was really cool. Like you said, it delved into the Mandalorian's past. And you know, now we're 6 episodes in. I think the idea that I've been waiting for some longer storyline to materialize was perhaps wrong-headed. No one told me that's how the story was going to go, but I'm so used to seeing episodic TV now. But what they're doing with this show is they're sort of touching on these old genres of old that were that we saw a lot. Overarching westerns, but then men on mission, whether it's the Wild Bunch, you know, whether it's the Searchers, and really they're kind of rifling through the western genre within the context of Star Wars. And I know we've said that before, but I'm really, now that I know that that's what they're doing, I'm sort of more open to it than I was at first, because I wanted it to be something else, and now I'm settled into what it actually is. So I really thought, like, okay, this was more like a Wild Bunch or a Dirty Dozen kind of an episode, and I'm like, sign me up, man. I'm in. And I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I particularly enjoyed the ending. Was very classical as far as the genre goes. I really enjoyed the ending, and it furthered the character as a character. We learned a lot about what kind of a person, if he is a person. There's a very funny joke about who might really be under the Mandalorian armor.
A little bit of classic canon references there.
That goes all the way back to the Phantom Menace, and I laughed out loud. And even Elizabeth was watching, and she laughed out loud, having just rewatched all the Star Wars movies. She thought that was also funny. She goes, "Wouldn't it be great if that were real?"
No.
And I said, not really,
Nope,
no.
nope.
Don't
that
ever
would not
say
be
that
great.
aloud.
For those of you who've seen the episode, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Nope, that would not be really
Not be good.
Question here is, guys, did you guys have a chance to watch this week's episode of Mandalorian? If so, jump on down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts on it. And one more thing off the top here, before we move into our main topics, on a sadder note, veteran screen icon who's maybe you don't always remember his name, but you've remembered his face. You've seen him a million times or more. Danny Aiello, actor from Moonstruck, Do the Right Thing, a prolific, just go to his IMDb page, a prolific actor throughout the decades, has sadly passed away at the age of 86. There's no cause of death that I've been able to find. It was just confirmed by his literary agent to the outlets that he had passed away. Rob, when I think of him, I don't even though Do the Right Thing is my favorite Spike Lee film, I always, when I think of him, my mind instantly goes to Moonstruck.
Oh, yeah.
With Cher and with Nicolas Cage. I just love that. And whenever I think of him, and of course, as you go back and watch older movies, you'll almost always stumble across him. And it's truly a loss right now. But your favorite thing of Danny?
Well, there are two movies that I really liked his performance in, and he kind of plays the same character, but Luc Besson's The Professional, or
right.
Leon. He's the guy, the mafioso that gives Jean Reno his jobs in The Professional. I loved him in that role. And I also liked him as the kindly chiropractor in Jacob's Ladder, where, if you haven't seen Jacob's Ladder, he plays Tim Robbins' kind of chiropractor who is always adjusting his spine, who may not be what he seems at first. But there's something about Danny Aiello's presence. I mean, of course, when he's playing the blustery New Yorker, the New York Italian.
That was his classic
yes.
thing. Yeah.
And he is in both of those movies, too, in Jacob's Ladder and Leon, or The Professional. But he's one of those screen presences that no matter what he's doing, he always put a smile on my face. There was something, I don't know if he was he was sort of inherently good, but there was something about whenever he always made me smile. And he had such a great career, and he had a good life. And when we see these celebrities pass away at 86 or something like that, I think, you know what? He had a life. I don't know anything about his personal life, but at least professionally, he had a life where he always put smiles on my face. And I think a lot of moviegoers always loved him in films. And what's great is we have this great legacy of his work that we can go back and watch, forever. And I think that's the way to lead a life.
The question is here, guys, what's your favorite film that you remember seeing him in? The sad passing of Danny Aiello at the age of 86. Jump down to the comment section and leave your thoughts and your favorite times you've seen him in film or television. All right, guys, with all that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics today. And how do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by going over 24/7 anytime to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on The John Campea Show. So let's go into our first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Corey D, who writes, "Hey, John and crew, love the show." Thank you so much, Corey. "So I just read in Variety that Will Poulter has dropped out of Lord of the Rings on Amazon due to scheduling conflicts. This is the second time I can think that he has dropped out of something big due to his schedule. The other time was playing Pennywise in the new It movie. What do you think about this?" All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I was really bummed to read this. I was really, really bummed to read this. For those of you, maybe this is the first time you're hearing about it, this is from Variety. Will Poulter will not be appearing in Amazon's upcoming Lord of the Rings series after all. Variety has learned exclusively, according to an individual with knowledge of the situation, scheduling conflicts will prevent the Bandersnatch and Midsommar star from joining in the show based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, this is not terribly unusual, especially for something like a show that's going to be as grand and epic in scale as this Lord of the Rings thing, especially being this early in the days. I have no doubt. Now, I don't know this as a fact. I'm just saying this is what I'm just going on, what I assume is happening here. That Will Poulter has been getting busier and busier as an actor. So his schedule is all filled up. I have a feeling what's probably happened is with a project the scale of this Amazon project, Rob, that something in the schedule probably got moved around. It's like, oh, now we need to shoot this in this month instead of that month due to all these other moving pieces. At which point it probably just left Poulter going, but I can't shoot it that month. We said we would shoot with me doing this month, and I can't do it if you have to move it around. And I think it's just one of those things where it's circumstances. It's circumstances, but I'm going to tell you, while I understand that, I'm still really bummed out about it. This is a kid who started off as a funny little dude that for some people, they first really noticed him maybe in We're the Millers or whatever. He has turned into one hell of an actor. And I keep talking about that movie Detroit, to which I when I heard what he was doing in Detroit, I'm like, is that going to work? Oh my God. I actually made an argument. I thought maybe he could have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards that year. And so when they announced that he was going to be a part of this show, I got excited. So I get it. I understand this happens, but I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I was a little bit bummed out about it. Rob, you heard about this. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I really like his face. He's got a very unusual look to him. And whether he's going to play an elf or whether I was like, man, when I heard he was cast in Lord of the Rings, I'm like, well, that's some perfect casting. And I loved his character in Bandersnatch. In Midsummer, he just plays a dick. And I thought he was great. And I really have enjoyed watching his career develop. So, of course, I'm bummed. But I think it's exactly what you had said. I mean, you had to commit to part 1 and part 2. He probably, his star is on the rise. He's turning in some great performances. And I can't imagine Lord of the Rings, he can't just go down and shoot a couple of days here and there.
Right, yeah.
He's probably going to go to New Zealand for months, 6 months or something. It was probably a heck of a lot of work. And I understand he could fall out. I'm sure no one's as bummed out about it as he is, because who wouldn't have wanted to have done that? But it probably wasn't just one season. It means 7 or however many they're going to go. And it's Amazon, so they got the money to pay. And he's like, I can't take that much time. So
yeah, again, it's probably really, it's not like a movie where it's like, hey, we got 7 weeks that we're going to shoot.
Right.
All right. This is a longer commitment, a longer period of time. Your schedule can become an issue. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate it happens. Question is, guys, are you as bummed out about this as me, or are you kind of like, hey, John, look, the show hasn't even started yet. I got nothing to be bummed out about yet. Maybe that's the right attitude to have. I'm kind of bummed out about it, though. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Robert Cherryman, who writes, I just saw the new Star Wars clip, and why on earth is this coming out 1 week before release? This is the only piece of marketing the movie needed to have fans talking up to the release. The other trailers were fine, but in no way appeared as the must-see movie of the year. This 1 minute, it's actually 1 minute and 30 seconds. 1 minute and 30 second clip was creepy, atmospheric, tense, and all around spectacular. But why so late? And I'm going to tell you what, Robert, I had the exact same thought. Because I came out of Jumanji last night, went to my favorite outdoor patio in Burbank to sit down and do some work, bring my iPad with me, work on some stuff, and that's when I watched that trailer. And once I watched the trailer, I picked up my phone immediately and called Robert Meyer Burnett.
Yes.
And I'm like, did you see this new spot? Because Robert, look, no secret, I have been critical. I have not hated the Star Wars marketing up until this point, but I have been critical of it. I don't think they've done a very good job with the marketing of this film. That doesn't mean the movie's going to be good or bad. It's the marketing only, but I have been critical about the marketing of this film. I've been underwhelmed by it. I mean, it's fine. It's good. I like it, whatever, but I'm underwhelmed. It should have been so much better. Rob, the first thing I said to you was, why the hell did they not lead with this spot? Because I'll tell you what, this trailer, screw what they showed at Star Wars Celebration. This should have been your first trailer. Now, yeah, you're not setting up the story per se, although the Emperor gives a lot of story in here. But there's not a lot of dialogue between. That's why first trailer. You lead off with this spot, because I'll tell you right now, this is the best Star Wars trailer in years. I mean, maybe the best Star Wars trailer since Chewie We're Home. That literally brought tears to people's eyes. I mean, this is the best Star Wars trailer in years. And I am sitting here, I mean, between that whole opening with the Emperor's voice, and by the way, there have been people writing in saying, hey, John, you know, what if it's the Emperor that's been talking to Kylo, and Kylo just thought it was his grandfather Vader? And what I've said is, well, that's possible. But as a fan, I haven't seen anything in the movie so far that suggests it's been a two-way conversation. So I think it's just, Kylo Ren kind of speaking out into the universe, but not hearing anything back. But it's possible, I suppose. Oh, those people were completely right. Now those people it's been proven, those people were completely right in saying that, which is awesome. And it puts so much in a different perspective now from the rest of the movie. So you go from that, and by the way, I wish I brought up a shot of this, but in this middle, look at the statues. I need to get a clearer look at these statues, and I got to start figuring out, okay, wait a second, who are these guys in these statues? Because we get a couple of shots of these guys in statues as he's coming down. The incorporation, it's a little thing. I don't know why I get so geeked out about it, but a little bit of the incorporation of both Duel of the Fates, bum, 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 but not too much of it, and then it flows to the Imperial March, bah, 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 and the particular shots they chose to use, and boom, it was something that this movie had not given me in its marketing campaign so far, which is an adrenaline rush. Even though there's some spots I liked, I have not felt any adrenaline rush for any of the marketing of this film until this damn spot. And I echo the words of not Robert Meyer Burnett, but Robert in the question, where the hell has this thing been? Where has this spot been? So I got to ask you a couple questions here, Robert. First question is this. What did you think of the spot? Number two, why is the spot coming out now? But honestly, really, the other question is, 1 week before release, is it enough? Is it too little, too late? Because again, now I know there are other people who have loved the marketing for it so far, and that's great. But there are going to be other people out there like me who none of this marketing has given me an adrenaline rush yet. Is putting this spectacular trailer out this close to the release date, is it enough at this point? I mean, is it too late at this point to win a lot of those other people back over? I don't know. Your impressions of the trailer, do you think it's enough at this point? What are you thinking about it?
Well, like you, I haven't understood the marketing of this movie because the marketing hasn't really, aside from showing us our characters doing Star Wars things and playing to our nostalgia, it has never given me a reason to see this movie. There's been nothing about the plot of this film, nothing about the characters. We haven't, other than C-3PO, it's the last time I can say goodbye to my friends. I mean,
which I liked.
That's fine.
I like that.
But that doesn't tell me anything about this movie. This was the first time that we saw something from an intellectual standpoint. It advances Star Wars lore.
Yeah.
It advances Kylo Ren's character. It sets up a situation that you can't help as a fan go, oh my God. It's a total OMG moment. And it really gets you I'm like, oh, I want to go see what's going to happen next. Like, I'm going to see what the hell is going on here. And that's why you go see movies, especially franchise movies that are 42-year-old franchises. I mean, you've got to give me something new. And this is the first time I think that they gave us something that's really intriguing and maybe unexpected. I mean, we talk about all the leaks and everybody knows the name of the planet and all that, but I hadn't seen what does it feel like? And you can hear everything in the world about a story from a script standpoint or as somebody's relating it to you, and you can make of it what you will. Because any story can be made to sound good or made to sound bad when you're recounting it. It's not until you see how the story is told. With movies, it's visual, and this had some amazing visuals we've never really seen before in a Star Wars movie. And I was like, wow. It reminded me of the Mines of Moria, like walking into the Mines of Moria in Lord of the Rings.
That's the exact feeling I had as well.
That one long, that giant wide shot where Kylo is dwarfed by those statues and you can see his lightsaber is the only light glimmering in the darkness. I'm like, well, now this is something I want to go see. And it got me, dude, I was geeked out. I watched it like 5 times right in a row. I'm like, I like you, I'm like, the camera move that's pushing into him as we've seen that shot with him igniting the lightsaber, but to see the camera push in and then pull away from him as he's walking away, I'm like, this is dope.
There's some good cinematography in there, but that shot in particular, I want to talk for a second about that shot in particular and why I geeked out so much. Because I fell in love with this trailer right from that opening shot.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, I love always hearing the TIE fighter sound.
Still one of the greatest sounds in movies ever.
So he lands and he gets out and he walks through the mist and ignites the lightsaber. And the reason why I love that shot so much is because the way he walks, again, this is great performance without using dialogue. The way he walks and the way in which he ignites the lightsaber, I could just hear the inner monologue in his head going, I've had enough of this shit. That's what I could totally hear him saying that. I've had enough of this shit. God damn it!
I want answers.
Yeah, there was a frustration. There was a malice. There was a determined. Like this, you know how I talk about that Ben Affleck scene in Batman vs Superman as he's got the little girl and looks up at the sky, and I'm like, that's some of the best acting you're gonna see in a comic book movie without any dialogue. That cadence, that stride, that walk, and the way the way he moved his body in it and everything. I'm probably looking way too much. John, it's a 3-second shot of a guy walking and turning on a lightsaber. I know, but I saw so much in that shot. And then there's a number of things in the trailer that we have seen, a couple of other shots we've seen in other trailers for this movie, but cut together in such a way and used properly with music. Again, remember, the trailers are not the movies. A movie can be horrible and have a great trailer. A movie can be great and have a terrible trailer. I am only talking about the trailers. But the trailers play an important role. And this, again, this should have been the very first piece of marketing that they put out. Not the thing they showed at D23. This is the thing that should have set their bar. And they should have, and leave it to me to take something that's great like this trailer and turn it into a negative. Because I'm sitting there, this trailer is great, but damn you for making the blundering mistake of not making this the first thing you put out, because this is so good.
You're making a good point, because remember, this trailer, at least the way I thought about it, it's the only thing that's shown me something that's different about Rise of Skywalker than from any other Star Wars movie. This finally delivered, like, we don't know anything about the plot of this film. If you don't read Reddit and you don't know anything, we don't know anything about the plot of this film. And this was the first piece of marketing and indeed clip from the film that tells you something that's new and unique. What does Rise of Skywalker have in it that we haven't seen in Star Wars before? And this was it. This was the first time we've seen something, and I'm like, okay, this is something I can get excited about. And I think that's what you're responding to. As a lifelong Star Wars fan, you're like, ho, 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 like, yeah, man, this is, and it's not like Kylo's like, yes, master. He's like, I want to, that shot where he's pointing the lightsaber that we've seen that ends this. I'm like, okay, that dude's pissed. He wants some answers. It's not like, I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. Okay, I get it. C-3PO nostalgia trip, that's great. But this is like Kylo Ren being the way I want him to be, because he's been kind of, in my mind, a punk the whole time. Now I'm seeing some action. Now I'm seeing, I mean, I like some stuff with him in Last Jedi. Now I'm seeing more of what I wanted out of him as a character from the beginning. This is it. You know, I want answers. Enough of this, like you said. I'm sick of this shit. Tell me more.
And to your point that you've raised before, in just a few lines of dialogue, the Emperor in the first part of this thing gives us more context to what's the framework of this story than we've gotten in all of the other trailers combined without it being a spoiler.
Right.
It's here's the general construct of a story, an overriding thing in this thing. And it's like, oh my God. Like, with just a few short, precious lines of dialogue, without even still seeing the Emperor, just boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, my mind and my understanding of this movie coming up and the way I'm supposed they want me to look at this film has expanded tenfold just from something as simple as that.
And both Force Awakens and Last Jedi have an added dimension. And the fact that they had Andy Serkis and James Earl Jones speaking lines of dialogue we'd never heard before. And it's like, oh, come on. I'm in.
I listen. So look, I know I'm speaking very negatively, but I love this trailer. I thought it was fabulous. It's just frustrating that they're only coming out with this spot today. It's a brilliant piece of marketing between the edits, the music choices, what they get to expanding our scope of understanding of what the story of the movie is. They've done so much in just a minute and 30-second trailer. I demand answers from why this was not the first thing they played.
Well, what's interesting is I watch this trailer and I'm like, I don't even care about any of the other characters. I want to watch a 2-hour movie about this.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of it is going to be tied into that.
Right, of course.
So, and that's probably going to be the backbone. So anyway, I'm sure we're going to talk more about this as we get into the live questions, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are firing in live questions about this. But for now, what do you guys think about this trailer? Or maybe you think, John, this was a great trailer. Yeah, but now was the perfect time to release it. Or maybe you feel like me, that they should have released this thing a long time ago. Anyway, what did you guys think? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Nicholas Rojas, who writes, "Greetings from Sydney, Australia." Well, thank you for writing that in, Nicholas. So, just a day after it was announced that Flash 2 got its Flash 2, this is the first Flash. Flash got its release date. We finally have a release date for Shazam 2, set to open in theaters April 1st, 2022. And I could not be more excited for it. I love the first film so much, and it's my number one favorite film out of all of the DCEU. Are you as excited for this news as I am? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And I'll say this. I am excited for it in the sense that I love the news. I love the news Shazam 2 is now official. I'm not super excited, though, because I've already kind of, we've known to expect that it's coming. So it's not like it surprised me out of nowhere. But at the same time, listen, I'm with you. You guys know I loved this movie. I loved the Shazam movie. To me, it had an inherent charm that I don't see in a lot of comic book movies, and this movie had it. And I saw Captain Marvel first. Yeah, we have the two Captain Marvel movies coming out pretty close here, the Captain Marvel and Shazam. I saw the Captain Marvel movie first, and I quite enjoyed the Captain Marvel movie, and I thought, well, this is probably going to be the better of the two Captain Marvel movies. I just hope Shazam's good. And I thought Shazam was better than Captain Marvel. I mean, I just enjoyed it so much. Bummed out that it didn't do better at the box office than it did. I thought this was a movie that deserved much, much more. And I'm hoping more people, since it's finished its theatrical run, have caught on to the goodness that is Shazam. And I really look forward to where they go. I hope they don't just say, oh, the Shazam family is off on planet Nukunar dealing with something, so now this is just a solo Shazam movie. I want to see the Shazam family in there. I want to see where they're going. You know there's going to at least be some Black Adam elements in this. It's, again, while it is not unexpected, Robert, while it is not unexpected, it is still a very welcome piece of news to hear this thing has now finally been made official. Anyway, your thoughts on the announcement of a Shazam 2 release date?
Look, I mean, I've said I've loved Shazam, the Captain Marvel character, and the Marvel family. I love them growing up as a kid. I've certainly loved how Captain Marvel, now Shazam, was used in Kingdom Come. And look, I was not the biggest fan of the first movie. I liked it, and I like what happened more toward the end of the film when they added the Marvel family. But I like the fact that they're making another one because I really liked Zachary Levi as Shazam. And what's really interesting is that this movie's coming out 3 months after Black Adam.
Yep.
So
you know there's going to be some tie-in, right?
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that because I want to see Black Adam and Shazam go at it. And I think, or somehow, and you know they're going to do that.
Yeah, and look, it's just nice now. Again, it wasn't unexpected, but it is nice now, considering the fact that we went 31 years waiting for actual Black Adam movie news from the date that they announced Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I believe it was 31 years ago.
45, dude.
45 years ago that they announced that Dwayne The Rock Johnson was going to be Black Adam.
When he was born.
Yes, for the day he was born. This is our new Black Adam until they finally established a release date for it. Now they've shored things up with Shazam 2. The picture is starting to become more clear. I like what we're seeing. Guys, question is, are you excited about this? Maybe you didn't even listen. Shazam didn't blow up the box office, so maybe you didn't even see it. But what are you thinking about this? I'm excited about it. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Gary Urban, who writes, "Hey, John, I noticed people in shock of De Niro being left out of nominations. But the one that sticks out to me is Willem Dafoe getting no attention for his amazing performance in The Lighthouse. For supporting actor, I know this year is super stacked in all acting categories, but come on. Is it being ignored because of how weird it is, like Hereditary and Swiss Army Man, or do you think he really just isn't in the top 5? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, we have been speaking quite a bit about the whole fact that, Robert De Niro, like, for a beat, a lot of people thought he might be a front runner to win the Academy Award for Best Lead Actor in a Film. Irishman's getting a lot of attention. It's his film. And then not only did the Golden Globes not nominate him, which who cares, it's the Golden Globes, but SAG didn't nominate him. Which, as much as useless as the Golden Globes are and as completely meaningless as the Golden Globes are, the fact of the matter is, it is somewhat of a barometer for what we might expect to come later, as is SAG, the SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild Awards. And he's not there. It's like, oh my God, we've gone from he might be a front runner to win to, oh my God, he might not even be nominated. But getting lost in that shuffle is Willem Dafoe from Lighthouse. Now listen, they made a terrible decision, in my estimation, an erroneous decision, a lie, if you will, to run him as Best Supporting Actor when he is not a supporting actor in The Lighthouse. This is a movie of two leads. Just like Ford v. Ferrari is Matt Damon and Christian Bale, and they run them both as two leads. This was clearly a movie of two leads, but they decided to split it up and put him as Best Supporting Actor, which is a disservice to the actors who play supporting actors because this was clearly a lead role, but whatever. They chose to run him in Best Supporting Actor, and he is not getting nomination. And he didn't get it from SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. He didn't get it. That seems outrageous at first, Rob, but it plays to my contention every year. You don't understand. The Academy Award is one of the hardest things in any profession to win because you can't just be great. You got to be great and just cross your fingers that there weren't 5 other people who were equally or maybe more great than you. And that's a hard thing because let's look at the SAG nominations. Who didn't know Brad Pitt was going to get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Of course he was. As soon as we all saw the movie, yeah. Although that's another case where he could have been run as a lead as well. Because that movie is him and Leonardo DiCaprio equally, but whatever. They run him for Best Supporting. Everything I've been hearing about Jamie Foxx in Just Mercy has been nothing but glowing. I know a lot of people who are part of a lot of the different award bodies, and they're all raving. Now, I haven't seen it yet myself, but I knew, just from the people who I know have seen the film, are talking about Jamie Foxx as maybe even being a better performance than his Academy Award-winning performance in Ray. So you kind of had to assume he was going to be there. Nobody's really surprised Joe Pesci and Al Pacino are getting these nods. Everybody's talking about how great they are. We're shocked that De Niro isn't getting it, but nope. And who didn't think Tom Hanks was going to get a nomination for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood? So in talking about Willem Dafoe didn't get a nomination, you have to then start to construct a discussion about who do you kick out to put him in. And honestly, look, would Willem Dafoe have been in my nominee list? Yes. And when I put out when I do the John Campea, the Filthies, when I do the Filthies Awards at the end of this year and I announce my nominees and my winners, I can tell you right now, spoiler alert, Willem Dafoe is going to be one of those guys. But at the same time, I don't believe myself that there is an irrefutable, beyond any dispute and beyond any reasonable doubt, that one of these performers should absolutely be kicked out to make room for Willem Dafoe because Willem Dafoe's performance was ridiculously superior to theirs. I don't think that argument can be made. Again, he's going to be on my list, but I don't think you can make a beyond a reasonable doubt argument that it is so clear that Willem Dafoe's performance is so superior to, say, Joe Pesci in Irishman, that it is beyond refute that you need to kick him out to put him in. It's tough. It's so close. And that's what makes the Oscars, Rob, so ridiculously compelling, competitive, and damn hard to get. But let me ask you, I mean, you saw Lighthouse, you saw Willem Dafoe's performance, which was great. Were you surprised that SAG, I was surprised, but are you surprised SAG didn't put him up there? And, you know, would you put him up there? How are you feeling about it?
Look, I thought his performance was amazing. But I think a lot of what goes into this is also how well is the movie regarded? How well is the movie itself regarded? And I think in the case of Hereditary or The Lighthouse, both of those movies are pretty out there. They're not standard awards fare. And I think a lot of people, The Lighthouse is very, I guess I would call it, in a way, sort of punk rock as far as movies go. You know, indie films, it was really not everyone's cup of tea. And I don't think it doesn't go down as easy as any of the other films. I mean, you have to be of a certain mindset to really love a movie like The Lighthouse. Now, you can recognize Willem Dafoe's character, but at the end of the day, are people going to be watching that movie in 20 years or 30 years and talking about it? These other movies, I think, are just more traditional. And I think the Golden Globes especially go for more traditional kinds of movies, more populist films, whereas The Lighthouse, I really enjoyed it, but it's a little, as we would say, offbeat. And I think that's one of the problems that you have with a movie like that. He gave an offbeat performance in an offbeat film, and that's not what usually the Hollywood Foreign Press goes for. But you never know. Maybe
but SAG?
Same. I mean, ultimately, I think it comes down. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I think that you might see maybe a Spirit Award or something, or I don't know. But it's disappointing to me because the way he said "wiki," I'll never forget that. His performance. I mean, it was amazing. Okay, it was amazing.
Okay, the Academy Award nominations come out tomorrow. They don't. I'm just saying. The Academy Award nominations come out tomorrow. Is Willem Dafoe going to be on the nominee list?
I think he's a contender. I think absolutely, because the Academy is more along the lines of, they sometimes will throw in a little dark horse candidate that maybe the other, because they like to differentiate themselves.
Right.
And maybe,
I think he will. I think he will be on the Academy list. Although that defies logic because SAG didn't put him on there. And who makes up the actors branch of the Academy that puts together the nomination? SAG members. So I don't know why. I can't explain it, but I think he will be nominated for an Academy Award. Question here is, guys, do you think Willem Dafoe, number one, do you think he deserves one of the nominee spots? And if so, do you think he will get one of those nominee spots despite the fact that he was left off the SAG nomination list? What do you guys think? Jump into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's go on to one final main topic today. And our final main topic today gets submitted to us by Andy Guadalupe, who writes, A Quiet Place Part 2 hits theaters on March 20th, 2020. We're over 3 months away, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen a trailer or promotional material. Do you think this is another Kong versus Godzilla situation where the movie is supposed to come out in March and pushed back in November 2020? You think A Quiet Place Part 2 will be pushed back as well? All right, thanks a lot for sending in the question, man. And I can tell you this. Oh, it ain't getting pushed back because the trailer actually came out yesterday. Now, I do not believe it's online yet, though. But I was in Jumanji. And look, 95, 99% of the time now, trailers debut online first, and then they'll pop up in front of the movie. Vast majority of the time, but there are exceptions. Tenet, for example. But yeah, last night before Jumanji, they played a short little trailer for A Quiet Place 2. First one. And it's still advertised its release date, so it's coming. But I'll tell you exactly what's in the trailer. It's a very simple, very short trailer. It starts off with a close-up shot of feet. Yes, a close-up shot of feet, 3 sets of feet, walking through the forest on a sand path. a clearly man-made sand path of where sands, and they're all walking very quietly in this boom, boom. Not so much music, but just like a soundtrack of boom as they're walking through. And then they come to a part in the path where the sand ends. The camera pans up, and now we see the 3 remaining family members from the family of A Quiet Place, which was my favorite film of 2017. And they look at each other and they realize they have to keep walking even though there's not sand anymore. They got to walk on the regular path in the woods. And as Emily Blunt lifts her foot to start putting her foot down on the first bit of ground without the sand there to muffle the sound, my stomach came up to my throat. The way it reminded me so much, Rob, of the way the first Quiet Place was able to use simple little things. Like, the most horrifying thing I've seen in any movie in years is not a monster ripping the heart out of somebody. It's Emily Blunt walking down some stairs and you knowing there's a little bit of a nail sticking up down there. I freaked out. They use these little things, and something as small as she's just about to take her first step off of a sand path. My whole body was tense. It was insane. Short little trailer, simple little trailer, but it came out and made its point, and I loved it. And I cannot wait for Quiet Place 2 and see where they take this story. So do not worry. It is coming. And the trailer is out, so I expect it to drop online here any time now. Rob, have you had any thoughts on me? Because I was starting to think, wow, this is supposed to come out pretty soon. But have you had any thoughts there? Or did you know since this is a smaller film, we can expect a shorter window of marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, look, I think marketing in terms of when a trailer comes out is directly proportionate to how much money they spent on a movie. Now, Quiet Place was a big hit, but it was not a big investment.
Yes.
So marketing movies is obviously, we know sometimes the marketing budget of films can far exceed the movies cost themselves. And so it's probably a good bet. Like when A Quiet Place, they want to hit hard and fast in terms of the marketing. Here it is. They don't want people waiting a year to see it. You know, the marketing comes out, a fervor is created. They're going to show it Jumanji, the holiday season, and people know it comes out in March. They're going to be ready. It's going to be the kind of thing where that's how you market a movie like that. And, you know, you drop a teaser trailer. Like, it sounds like what you saw was a teaser trailer, more of an announcement trailer.
Yeah.
And then come, say, February or late January, they're going to show you a full-blown trailer, and it'll be a month before it opens or whatever. And that's how you market a movie like this. That's the way it's done.
And I cannot wait to see this damn thing. Question is, guys, for some of you who maybe were out at Jumanji last night, did you see the trailer? What did you think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all of our main topics out of the way now, we're going to move into our live questions, I should say, in just a second. I'm going to let you guys know, though, there are 2 ways you can send in live questions. Number 1, you can see in the top line of the description of this video, there's a tip link there. If you use that tip link and submit a question there, number 1, your question is going to get answered in the video, but number 2, you're supporting the channel along the way. You can go ahead and use that. And by the way, even when this show's over, you can use that link to keep sending in questions if you like, and they will be the first questions that get answered on the next day's show, so you can use that 24/7. Also, you can just use the super chat feature in YouTube if that's how you like to do it. So you can do that. But before we get to the live questions, guys, as we do every day, we're going to take now just a short little break. We're going to rest up the vocal cords, stretch our legs for a minute, refill our drinks, and then we're going to come right back and start getting to your guys' live comments and questions. So don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back. are back. Thank you, everybody, for your indulgence as we took a little bit of a break there for a second. Let's now dive in, start getting to your guys' live questions. We're going to start things off here with the nerd Errant, who writes, I like that name, as flawed as Batman vs. Superman is, Bruce in the Battle of Metropolis was a truly good scene. Another endgame moment, Thor dropping his jolly facade when Professor Hulk mentions Thanos. Back to DC, Aquaman realizing it's his fault. Black Manta is after him. Yeah, that was a good moment in Aquaman. That was a good, because really, Aquaman acted like a bit of a dick in the opening of that movie. But Rob, it's that Ben scene. And yeah, look, I acknowledge Batman versus Superman has issues. I know Batman versus Superman has problems, but I quite like the film anyway. But that opening Ben scene is just, like, to me, it's the best moment of the movie. But I don't know. Do you agree? Do you think there's another moment? I mean, I also love the Batman versus Superman fight, obviously.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's the best scene in the movie, but what it does is it sets a tone that I really enjoyed. I mean, I thought that was a ballsy way to start the movie. The continuity there, seeing something from a different perspective, I thought it was really, really clever and beautifully done. And, you know, a lot of people, I always have these arguments with people about the destruction and the death in Batman v Superman and also in Man of Steel. And I'm like, what do you think's going to happen when two super beings of this kind of power are knocking each other around in a city, when there's world devastators or world engines that are pounding the planet into submission? These are extinction level events. I don't know what you think. It's just two guys hitting each other and one gets thrown into a Coca-Cola sign. The world's a different place now. Yep. So,
all right. Willow writes, I too would love to see an 80-year-old Joe Pesci breaking into someone's house in the Home Alone reboot, but that might be considered elder abuse. How his character survives some of the traps in the first two movies is a miracle. No, seriously. Like, little Kevin could have been charged with manslaughter in some ways, because a lot of those things would kill a fool.
Have you seen the video? I've seen it pop up on my feed in the last couple of days of somebody did an analysis of what damage to the human body would be done with those traps.
No, I did not.
You got it's all over Facebook, but there is, and the schematic is someone's face getting hit with the paint can. But Willow is absolutely right about that. I think a lot of those would have been lethal injuries.
I think if they did it again, it would be a more modern Joe Pesci, where he'd break in and Kevin goes, "Hey, stupid," and Joe Pesci's just like, and just like a little bit of an Indiana Jones movie. It's like, there, haha, all done. All right, next up, Tobe97 writes, "Hey, I read a book, The Devil All the Time, was very good, and now I saw there's a movie for 2020 by director Antonio Campos with Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland, Sebastian Stan. I thought those two different guys, Seba and Stan. Sebastian Stan, Riley Keough. It's a thriller where all the characters are disturbed. Your thoughts?" I have none. I have no thoughts. I'm not familiar with the book. I don't know what the book is. So unfortunately, I mean, look, you put Robert Pattinson, Sebastian Stan, and Tom Holland in a movie. Okay, that sounds kind of cool. But unfortunately, I don't know anything about the book or the production at this point. Rob, do you know anything about it?
Where all the characters are disturbed. Is that the movie that the Russo brothers are making, where Tom Holland is a drug dealer? Or he's a heroin addict?
I don't think I heard Robert Pattinson was in that. Is he?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know, but who doesn't want to see a movie where all the characters are disturbed?
That's
right up my alley.
All disturbed all the time.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, bring it on.
Next up, KW Garrett writes, did Robert De Niro's Lifetime Achievement Award at SAG ceremony in 2020 sap the voters' enthusiasm for nominating him for The Irishman? Congrats on the million views. Actually, it's 100 million views. In 2014, I found your AMC show after Christian was on Movie Fights. Been a fan ever since. Well, thank you for that, KW Garrett. Listen, what I like to often do when people say, do you think the Academy did this because of this, or that the SAG people did this, I just simply ask you to put you in their shoes. Are you intelligent enough to go, okay, yeah, we gave an award to him for Lifetime Achievement, and now we have this other situation, a totally separate thing, where we have the Best Actor category, and we're trying to evaluate the best actors. Are you, as an intelligent human being, going to be so confused, like, wait, we just gave Robert De Niro an award last time. Oh, I don't know if I can. Of course not. Like, you're intelligent enough to know that these are two separate things. You give him an award for that. All right, he's in the running for this. Is he one of the top 5? And if he is, you nominate him. If he's not, in your opinion, if he's not, you don't. But no, I really don't think that, personally, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I really don't. I think these bodies, particularly the Screen Actors Guild, who are made up of actors, they're about honoring the best in acting that year. Now, you can agree or disagree with their conclusions, but that's going to be their operating procedures. I don't know, Rob, what do you think about that?
Well, I just think that Robert De Niro, this is, in a way, if you want to think of this as a trilogy that began with Goodfellas and Casino and The Irishman as the conclusion of that trilogy. And of course, Robert De Niro goes all the way back to Mean Streets. I don't think people see this as much of a stretch for him. You know, we've seen De Niro play these characters, so it's not, of course he's going to deliver a great performance. Why wouldn't he? But I think that people don't think it's as groundbreaking as, say, the other performances of this year. I think that's it. I don't think it's a snub on him. It's just, we've seen De Niro play roles similar to this, so it's not unexpected that he would do great in the role. But we've seen it before. So that's kind of where I come from.
I just don't think that should be a consideration. The consideration should be like, it's like Usain Bolt running the 100-meter dash and winning the gold. Yeah, but we've seen him run it that fast before. Yeah, let's give it to the other guy. But you know what I mean? It's either the best or it's not.
Look, I agree with you, but I think that if you see somebody doing the same kind of thing, you know, you're always looking for something new.
I guess so. That could be part. There has to be some explanation at some point. All right. Revan writes, "Hey, John, I highly advise watching the new trailer, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. If only we had talked about that. We did. Revan, you're absolutely right. We did. Literally gave me the chills. Hope you're having a good day." And again, we spoke about that off the top of the show. In the first hour of the show, I should say, love this trailer. The only problem, Revan, is that it leaves me sitting here going, why the hell did you not put this out first? This should have been your lead. This is what you should have let out with, was this. But whatever, it might be too little too late, but I'm glad it's here anyway, because you're right, it's the first trailer for this new movie that actually gave me an adrenaline rush, so it was great to see. Shelley Belly writes, "Hey John, are you going to the Rise of Skywalker premiere?" I am. It's on Monday night. When does the review embargo lift? The review embargo lifts on Wednesday. From here out, I'm staying away from social media, YouTube, etc. To avoid spoilers. Will only watch your videos, but not the comment section. Yeah, so here's the breakdown. The social media embargo lifts at 10 p.m. on Monday night. So as soon as I come out of the screening on Monday night, I'm going to be able to post up my reactions to it. Not a full review, but I'll be able to post up my reactions to it. Full review, then most press are going to see it on Tuesday morning. So like 12 hours after I see it, like just as soon as I'm done, they're getting ready to come and go see it themselves. So, and I'm going to go to the Tuesday morning. By the way, that's why Tuesday, there is no John Campea Show on Tuesday, just so you know, because I'm going to go to another screening of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Tuesday morning in Hollywood. So don't look for a John Campea Show on that day. But that's when most of the press are going to see it. And so the review embargo, I believe, lifts on Wednesday, either late Tuesday night or Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday, though, is when it releases. So, yes, social media review embargo lifts Monday night. That's when we can put out our first thoughts, and then the review itself will come out on Wednesday. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, "I never heard of the Aberfan disaster before this season of The Crown. Even though my dad was living in England at the time, now I'll never forget. I've not been watching The Crown, but Anne has. I know I'm familiar being Canadian because we have closer ties with England, but the Aberfan disaster is this thing that happened where, like as a coal mine facility or whatever, at the top of a hill, some heavy rains came. They weren't properly taking care of that spot, so when the rains came, it created this massive landslide that literally buried a school, and I think like over 100 children died, and a bunch of other people died as well. And it was one of the huge disasters. Rob, are you familiar with it? I
mean, vaguely, but I'm not familiar with it.
But yeah, a horrible tragedy, and now I'm tempted just to watch the Crown, just to see that episode of The Crown, because it'd be kind of cool to see how they handle that. All right, Sam O'Neill writes, "Hey John, we also have Boxing Day in Australia. Nice, and no one bloody gets it, so thanks Canada. I'm not sure what that means, but also watched The Irishman over the past 2 nights, and I think I'm with you on it. Not too good, but definitely not bad at all. I mean, I think it's very good. I think The Irishman is very good. My big criticism of The Irishman is that there's at least 30 to 40 minutes of the movie that wasn't needed for it to be as great as it is. It definitely is overindulgent. I think Scorsese was overindulgent. But yeah, don't misinterpret me saying it's too long as me saying I didn't think it was great. I do think it's great. It's not my number one film of the year, but I think it's great. So I know, Rob, you were really, really taken with it as well.
I really liked it a lot. I thought it was great.
All right. Next up here, Timbula the Spider Monkey writes, I know you're not big on cats, John. No, I'm not. But my cat, Ahsoka, and you named your cat Ahsoka, loves you. When your show is on, she sits in the front of the screen and talks to you. The only other thing on the TV screen she watches are Rob's dogs. She comes running when she hears Gilbert and
Tallulah
come running. Listen, I'm not a fan of cats. But you might be surprised to know I grew up with cats. My mom always usually had a cat. And right until recently, my family has had a family cat for like 10 years named Sarah. That literally, because my parents bought the ranch. And shortly after they moved into a little while after they moved into the family to the Campea Ranch, this wild cat just showed up on the front porch. And just kept showing up every day. And my mom started putting milk out for the cat and all this kind of stuff. And then before you knew it, the cat moved into the house and was the family pet for like 10 plus years. And she just died recently. But generally speaking, I'm not a fan of cats, but it's not a hardcore hatred like I sometimes play it up to be. Colby Harris writes, Dear John, it's been almost 6 years ago that I lost my dad to suicide. Oh, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. The same month I started watching you, and it means a lot to have a community like this and movies to help us escape from reality. Thanks to you and Rob for all you do. Well, Colby, I mean, I don't know how to respond to that other than to say that it's an honor that you have made, the movie fan community a part of that process for you. And, I always talk about, Rob, how the great things about movies and movie fans and the movie fan community is that it's not just an escape, but I call it an oasis where we can get involved in movie talk or watching movies themselves. And it's while we're doing that, it gives our mind just a little bit of a break. And it helps us so that our problems, I always say this, our problems will still be there when we come back from the escapism. But hopefully, our minds are a little bit more refreshed, and maybe we've been inspired, and maybe our perception of the problems that await us in the real world have been changed. And maybe we get to come at them with a little bit more of a perspective and maybe just able to deal with them a little bit better, even if it's by 1%, than we would have before we watched that movie or engaged in some movie discussion. And that's always been really important to me. And I know you hear this all the time. You have the same feelings as well.
No, I mean, I've been, one of the things being on your show and then doing my own YouTube show, I think one of the things that has really struck me is how much people have warmed up to what we're trying to do here. And I think, there's a lot of toxicity all across the internet on various levels. And one of the things I think you and I bring, John, is a genuine joy to what we're doing. I mean, we're having a really good time doing this. It's great to connect with people. It's great to have this community. And when I hear people have been watching, I keep forgetting you and John Schnepp had me on Heroes back. I started in April of 2015 on the internet. In April of 2020, I'll be half a decade. I can't believe that. And you've been on for much longer than me. And there are people that have, like, when they say they've grown up with you, or, if somebody's 20 years old and they started watching us when they were 15, that's 25% of their lives, and I never take it for granted. And I've met so many people. Sometimes I haven't met them, obviously, in person, but people from all over the world, because these shows are global. And I've been touched and I've been humbled. And I am constantly amazed at the outpouring that people have, and how people also have been open and honest about things that are going on in their lives. And, if there's somebody that takes away some joy and a smile from what we do, then what we're doing is a good thing. And it makes me feel better about talking to this camera and wondering who's out there.
And listen, Colby, our thoughts with you on clearly a difficult anniversary, but we're also really glad that you have a community like this that you can just come and be a part of. And I hope it helps, man. And again, our thoughts and well wishes to you and your family, man. All right. Next up, Jonathan writes, help me out here, John and Rob. My friend thinks a PG-13 Deadpool is possible. I said, I would have agreed if we hadn't seen R-rated versions. His reply, well, the only reasons it's R is because of its edgy humor. That's true, but Deadpool is R also because of his violence, which my friends still disagreed. I honestly believe after seeing R-rated Deadpool, you can't go back to PG-13, yet my friend believes otherwise. I don't know. Is he right, or should Deadpool remain rated R? Well, listen, here's the thing. First off, I have said this exact same thing. I believed before they did Deadpool and we didn't know what it was going to be rated, I made the argument that you can do Deadpool PG-13. You can. I would prefer R, but you can do PG-13 Deadpool if you want. But that was before Deadpool came out. Now we live in a world where everybody does know Deadpool. And we've seen Deadpool. And we've enjoyed Deadpool. And you can say, yeah, it's only because of the edgy humor, but that's a part of Deadpool now. That's a part of this movie version of Deadpool. But that being said, Jonathan, that doesn't make it impossible to go back and do a PG-13 Deadpool. I don't want to do that. I think it's a bad idea, and I think it is the more risky idea. You can do it, sure, but we now have a fundamental expectation for Deadpool, whereas we did not have that expectation just a couple of years ago before the first Deadpool came out. So I believe you are right, but I also believe to a degree your friend is right too. Just because something isn't the right choice doesn't mean it can't work. It can. You go all in with 2-3 on a hand of poker while the other guy has pocket aces. That's the wrong move. But it could work out. You flop a set and all of a sudden, boom, you're golden, right? I mean, it is possible to do the unwise thing and still have it work. I believe it is the unwise thing to try to make Deadpool PG-13, but that's not to say that it makes it impossible it could work. Rob, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I'm with you. Anything can work. I mean, the audience has come to expect a certain thing. Deadpool has become a brand. It's become a certain kind of humor, a certain kind of in your face, whether Deadpool's hacking limbs off people or making very off-color jokes or celebrating National Women's Day with Marina Baccarin. However he's doing these things, that's what we've come to expect. However, there are ways, I think, you have to be clever, and I don't know quite what those ways are, that you can make Deadpool work in a PG-13 context. The question is, does the audience want that? And if they do want it, they don't know they want it yet. And you have to lead them down that path. And if you can do that, then maybe so. I personally, I like R-rated Deadpool movies. I like that brand of anarchic humor, I guess. And I don't know if I'd want to see a PG-13 Deadpool movie, but if somebody had a really good idea and it was really, really well written and well done, why not?
All right, next up, Russell Amador writes, hey, John, just got out of seeing Jumanji, and I have to agree it's rather entertaining, but didn't top the first one for me. Oh, and one other complaint, movie time says 7:15, but the movie didn't start till 7:50. Unacceptable. It didn't help seeing Sonic and Scooby previews either. Yeah, they played a Sonic the Hedgehog trailer before my screening, too. It's so bad. That movie's going to be so bad. But at any rate, unacceptable, absolutely. But yeah, I'm with you on that, Russell. I thought the movie was very entertaining. I had a really good time with Jumanji: The Next Level. It worked for me. Not quite as well as the first one, but the first one really blew me away. Like, I was really so pleasantly surprised by that first one. It's crazy. So that was a high level to reach up to, but still, there are going to be some people say, oh, John says it's not as good as the first one, so he hates it. No. I really enjoy it. I think it's really fun. I think a lot of you guys will like it. Not everybody, but I think a lot of you guys will like it. Triple J's Thoughts writes, hey guys, Rob, what is your favorite opera? My guess is The Ring. Is The Ring an opera?
Well, The Ring is, the Ring cycle.
Oh, okay, let me finish
Richard
the question.
Wagner's, there's Das Rheingold, Götterdammerung, Tristan and Isolde. But, I understand why people would think that. And I actually saw the entire Ring cycle put on by the Seattle Opera. They did sort of a sci-fi version of it. And yes, it's cool. But I don't know. I mean, I also like, I am not up on my operas, but stuff like Tosca, things like that. I don't know if I could say I have a favorite because I'm just not as knowledgeable about opera as I probably should be. So I can only tell you what I've seen. And I haven't seen many, to be honest.
He goes on to write, John, do you have a favorite Don't Say Phantom of the Opera? As like many who make that mistake, musical, it would support a Die Hard being a Christmas. Yeah, Phantom of the Opera is not an opera. I mean, that's the thing. It's a musical. It's a Broadway musical.
Right.
It's not an opera. I have maybe seen 2 operas in my lifetime. So I am the wrong guy to ask. I've seen a lot of musicals, but I really haven't seen many.
I can say
operas.
I know what my favorite operetta is, which is, of course, Gilbert and Sullivan's Pirates of Penzance, because I
am the very model of a modern Major General.
I played Major General Stanley in a play. You
did?
Yes.
Did you sing the song?
I did sing the song.
I am
the very pattern of a modern Major General of information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the fights historical from Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical.
Bum, 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 bum.
But my military, yes.
Yes. By the way, what was the movie version of that? Was it just called Pirates? There was a with the guy who
Jim Belushi was in a version of
the guy who played.
I didn't see.
Why am I forgetting the name of this great actor who I love, who's in Fish Called Wanda and
Kevin Kline?
Kevin Kline. Did you see the version of Kevin Kline? I really like that one.
I didn't see it.
Anyway, okay. Let's see. Tucky421 writes, I just finished watching Star Wars Rebels all in 1 month. It's some of the best Star Wars content I've ever experienced, thanks to Disney Plus. I was hoping we could see some characters debut in live action in The Rise of Skywalker. Do you think this could happen? Thanks. No, and they shouldn't. No, and they shouldn't. They absolutely should not. Now listen, we've had references. Remember, we saw the ghost in which was it? Was it Rogue One that we saw the ghost, and we heard whether they're at the Rebel base, if you listen to the PA system, General Syndulla report, because you know who that is. And then we actually see Chopper in one scene in Rogue One as well. But so there are references. And listen, I quite enjoy Rebels. There are some seasons I love, some stretches of episodes not so much. So it is what it is, but no, I don't think we're going to see any characters pop up in there, nor should they. That's one thing. Most Star Wars fans have not watched Rebels, so I don't see any reason to cross those over, so I don't think they will. All right, Angel Chang writes, no doubt the best Star Wars trailer, but friends and I, for the first time, won't go to a premiere of a movie this big until we hear positive first. And listen, that's not a bad philosophy. Listen, going to a movie, I keep saying this, going to a movie is an investment of time and money. You have limited resources of both. You have limited time on this world and you have limited money. So investing time and money in a movie, you should hear what reviews are, what other people are saying, all that kind of stuff. That is just being called an educated consumer. It's being a smart consumer. So absolutely, wait to hear but you're going to hear whether it's good or bad, at least what some people's opinions of it, whether it's good or bad, before the movie comes out. So nothing wrong with that, Angel, nothing wrong. Sully writes, I started watching Star Wars in order of release, your suggestion. I went in hoping to say, this is why people got excited, but unfortunately I came out thinking, really? This got people excited? Hey, listen, Sully, all film is subjective. Not everybody loves Godfather. Not everybody loves Star Wars. Not everybody loves Goodfellas. Not everybody loves Citizen Kane. I mean, it is what it is. You're not going to love. I don't like Blade Runner. I mean, and that's an all-time sci-fi classic. We all respond uniquely to movies, so there's nothing wrong with the fact that it didn't hit you the right way.
But you also have to remember, when a movie like Star Wars came out, now it's like we can't imagine a world without Star Wars. But when Star Wars came out, there was nothing ever remotely seen like that before. That combination of visual effects and verisimilitude of the world that used, no one had ever seen anything like that before. So whenever you go back and you watch a film, I always recommend that people put it in context before they watch it, especially a movie like Star Wars that went on to become a cultural phenomenon. It's important to sort of, now that's not saying that movies should work always. I mean, ultimately time shouldn't matter, but our culture does. And when something comes out, look, there's people that won't watch silent movies or black and white movies. And I'm like, well, remember, there was a time when there was no sound in movies, and there was a time when there was no color. So what did those people do? And if you want to try and understand history and how cinema has moved and changed and grown over the years, it's important to watch things in context.
I agree. All right. Sully also writes in, I watch a show daily. My wife will randomly pop her head around the corner and with you say, and let me know your thoughts. You know what? Somebody asked me the other day. I'm going to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look at something here. So here's a little bit behind the scenes trickery. Many of you guys who watch the show regularly have heard me goes, what do you guys think about this? Jump down into the comments section and let me know your thoughts. With that down and out of the way, I also say, let's move on to our next step. Now, I'm going to tell you why that happens. I'm pulling back the curtain here, guys. I'm giving you a look behind the curtain. Here's why I do that. This is the honest reason why I do that. At the end of each show, before I go and do the John Campea post-show chat with our Patreon supporters over on our Discord server, before I go and do that, what I need to do is I need to take today's show and I have to edit all the individual segments together from the main part of the show. We cover 5 main topics plus 1 or 2 off the tops. So let's say for like today, it's going to be 8 topics because we had 3 off the tops, 5 main topics. So I need to take need to take the show's file, and then I need to edit out each one of those 8 segments, and then upload each of those 8 segments to the YouTube channel so people can watch all the individual videos if they want. And then once they're uploaded, Ray will then jump in there, put in the thumbnail, put in the metadata, all that kind of stuff. John, what does this have to do with? And let me know your thoughts. Here's what it is. That gives me my cue of when to put my edit. So I look for me winding up and blah, blah, and let me know your thoughts. All right. Yeah. With that down and out of the way, and as soon as I say with that down and out of the way, boom, that's when I know my edit is. So that's the end of that segment. Then I say, with that down and out of the way, as soon as I'm saying with that down and out of the way, that's where I do another edit, and that's the beginning of the next segment where I say, with that down and out of the way, so the first thing you guys see in the segment is, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today comes from blah, blah, blah. So if you've noticed that I do that habitually as a pattern, you're right. But the reason I do it as a pattern is a little bit of an editing trick so I know exactly where and when to do my edits. And it makes my workflow a lot easier and a lot faster when I know exactly what to look for and to do my edits. So there you go. There's actually a little bit of a practical reason for the repetitiveness of those segments. It actually helps my job go faster. I'm glad that your wife noticed it. And I'm glad your wife responds so well to my voice, just like somebody else's cat. Something about it, Rob. People and creatures of all kinds respond to my voice. All right, let's move on here. Sully also writes, I did my first dramatic podcast. It's about a mother who killed via drug overdose and her kids trying to cope or investigate. It's very emotional and intense, if you do say so yourself. It's called Somebody Killed Mom, coming soon. Listen, that is one of the interesting things about podcasts these days, Rob, because when you think of podcasts, you just think of, at least I do, punditry, commentary, talking about certain things, right? But then you got things like, what was the biggest podcast in the world for a while there with Adnan, the murder mystery about the kid who's in jail, and I can't remember. It was an investigative miniseries actually done as a podcast. What we used to call back in the 40s, before any of us were around, radio dramas are now being done as podcasts. So to get involved in podcasts, there's a lot of different things you can do, and it's really cool seeing people do stuff like this.
Kind of like The Weekly Hero, John.
The Weekly, which, by the way, is now an audio-only podcast, and either today or tomorrow, you should be able to start finding. The first episode is up. You can find a link to it in my social media. But you can probably starting today or tomorrow, because it takes a few days for the website, for the podcast services to propagate and pick up the new feed. So probably sometime today or tomorrow, you should be able to start finding the Weekly Hero podcast in your favorite podcast app. So keep your eye open for that.
I thought that was a pretty fun podcast to do myself.
It was a really fun podcast to do. Great segue, by the way, Rob. Speaking of podcasting. All right, so good luck on that, Sully. I hope it goes well for you. It's great when you get involved and start flexing your creative muscles a little bit, so I'm glad you're doing that. All right, Trickshot writes, hey guys, just finished Game of Thrones Season 8. When it aired, people were pissed Daenerys' personality changed. I kind of agree with you. It didn't all of a sudden change in Season 8, but it did start at Season 7. Arya and Bran changed too. It's more jarring if you binge. And listen, the thing for me, Rob, that I've always said Because I said for years, Daenerys is a bad guy. Daenerys is a jerk. And that was my refrain, because I would do the post Game of Thrones show. And ever since like season 4 or 5, I was saying, guys, she's a jerk. No, John, she's a hero. No, she's a jerk. And they're planting these seeds now. And I'm telling you, Daenerys is a huge jerk. And I'm telling you, this is where this show's going. No, it's not going to go that way. And people were naming their children Daenerys. And even though this Italian idiot was telling everybody, I'm telling you, this is where this is going. They are showing us. They're showing us the seeds of discontent and honestly evil. They're showing us these seeds. She wants to be good, but she's only good insofar as it advances her agenda. And I said that for years. Nobody would listen to me. And then when the show did exactly what they were forecasting they were going to do, and she showed her hand that Daenerys is all about Daenerys. That's what she's about. And when they finally revealed it fully, something I was telling everybody that they were hinting at for years, everybody whined and complained, that came out of nowhere. And I'm like, excuse me. No, it did not come out of nowhere. I've been telling you for years they've been doing that. And if an idiot like me could recognize it, you could have recognized it too if you wanted to. Because y'all are smarter than I am, and I saw it. So there's no excuse. But anyway, I wonder if binging it all at once, like if I were to sit down and binge all of Game of Thrones in a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks, if it would feel more or less jarring, would it be more obvious? Would it be less? I don't know, Rob. Do you got a theory on that?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, I did just get probably what is the greatest packaging of any physical media I've ever seen.
Oh,
which is
tell me about this.
The entirety of Game of Thrones comes in this amazing wood box, and each season it's got like a see-through thing on top where it's got this 3-dimensional scene, and you pull out each slice of it, and you got to see it. It's amazing. If you like Game of Thrones, if you're a fan, or you want to get somebody a really unique stocking stuffer, that full series Game of Thrones box set on Blu-ray is amazing. Best packaging of any physical media I've ever seen, with the exception of maybe the alien head.
All right, next one up, we've got Toonie2 writes, why is the press screening for Rise of Skywalker so late, and is there a review embargo? This is the exact same time they've been doing press screenings for all the major Star Wars movies. This is the operating procedure, because listen, Han dies got out so fast from The Force Awakens.
Dude, spoiler alert, I'm sure.
Sorry for those of you who still didn't know what happened in a movie 4 years ago, but Han dies was what got out so fast. And it is one of those things where now, look, it's always a major red flag when a movie holds off its press screenings or its review embargo till a day or two before the movie comes out. But Justice League, an Avengers movie, a Star Wars movie, these big movies that carry the potential to have really perception-altering spoilers. Every movie has some spoilers. Not every movie has perception-altering spoilers. These movies do. And so the studios have started putting very late embargo. So yes, there is a review embargo, but this is the exact same timing as all the other Star Wars press screenings and stuff like that. And the review embargo lifts on Wednesday. Although the social media reaction embargo lifts Monday night. So that's when you're going to start seeing that. All right, just got time for a couple more here with Robert here. Christopher Benson writes, Justin Long's scene with Brandon Routh and Zach and Miri is one of the funniest things I have ever seen. I think Justin was the highlight of that movie. Listen, I'll tell you what, Rob. Early in the movie blog days, there were 2 predictions of these little practically unknown actors that were just starting to become apparent that I said, this guy and this guy are going to be major, major stars. The one was this guy by the name of James Franco. And I was saying, I'm telling you guys, this kid, because we're going back 12 years, this kid is going to be huge. I'm telling you, he's going to be huge. Turned out to be huge. Well, that was the one I got right. The one I got wrong was Justin Long. And I believe wholeheartedly he deserves I think Justin Long has the talent and has the screen presence and is so fun to watch perform. I believe he should be a major star today. I love this guy. I just love watching him. Even when he pops up in New Girl, I just love watching his episodes. And his scene and Zach and Miri Make a Porno, at being in a relationship and a couple with Brandon Routh, is one of the funniest things in that movie. I love this guy, and I hope he gets a resurgence in his career because I believe he deserves to be huge. I know. What are your thoughts on Justin Long?
I've always loved Justin Long. I think he's great, and I would like to see him do more stuff. I bet we'll see more of him.
I love him ever since Galaxy Quest.
Oh, yeah.
Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
He's so good. And then every little thing he pops in, I just think he's terrific. But anyway, that's me. All right, last question we have with Robert Meyer Burnett here. And this one comes to us from Trickshot, who writes, my top 5 favorite TV shows in no particular order are Spartacus. I love that one. Dexter. I also love that one. House MD. Never really got into House. Not that I didn't like it. I just never got into it. Lost. I know it went downhill, but to this day I think about it and I want to know what the F was going on. And Supernatural seasons 1 through 5, seasons 6 through 15 wasn't good to me. I've loved them all. I haven't been thrilled with season 15 so far, I got to admit, but I'm a big Supernatural fan. Listen, Spartacus is in my top 3 all-time favorite. My all-time top 3 are Battlestar Galactica, the Ronald D. Moore one. And then the next 2 in no particular order are Spartacus and Sons of Anarchy. Those are my top 3. Do you have an all-time favorite shows?
Star Trek, the original series.
Star Trek, the original. Why I even asked.
Star Trek, the original series, and Twilight Zone are my favorite television shows of all time. But modern shows that I really love. Also, I love The Prisoner. But modern shows, starting in the '80s, I loved a show called Wise Guy. It ran 3 seasons. I love The West Wing. Of course, I love all the way up to things like Breaking Bad is amazing. You know what I'm really loving now? And by the way, season 4 dropped. The Expanse.
Oh, wait, it didn't launch?
Season 4 launched? Dropped yesterday. So did Michael Bay's movie 6 Underground.
Yeah, I got to watch that today.
I'm
planning on sitting and watching that today.
The Expanse, and you know what I love The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Season 3 dropped. Great. There's so much to watch. But yeah, God, there's so many shows that I've loved. I mean, I love The Sopranos. I love The Wire.
A lot of people a lot of TV files consider like The Wire to be maybe the greatest show ever made. Like there's still a lot of hardcore TV fans.
The Wire is so good. But then I've gotten back into TV, but my favorite shows when I was a kid, Jerry Anderson's UFO was definitely one of them. Of course, The Prisoner, I said that before, but yeah, I mean that there's so much good television that I don't know if stuff is my favorite or not, but yeah, those are some of the things that I love. I always look back at what have I collected. What TV shows? I'm a huge fan of a show that was called MI5 here, but it was called Spooks in the UK, and they even made a movie out of it. 10 seasons. It's all about MI5, which is basically their FBI, and that was a 10-season show. It's so good. If you like 24 or something, you'll like it. What I loved about that show is you never knew who was going to die. They would introduce main characters, and they would kill them, and I'm like, oh my god, that show used to surprise me. Loved it.
All right, guys.
Tom Quinn forever.
That will do it for Robert Meyer Burnett being here today. And for your week. That'll do it for Robert Meyer Burnett's week.
It's Friday, John.
It is Friday.
We're going to go down and get my cereal. It's Friday.
We're going to have you back again, of course, on Monday. So listen, Robert, in the meantime, where can people find you in your glorious adventures online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at Robert Meyer Burnett. Or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and my show, Robservations.
All right, dude, and I will probably talk to you this weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Thanks for being here, man.
It's always great.
All right, guys, we still have another 20, 30 minutes to go here, so let's keep on firing through your guys' questions that you guys have sent in. And we're going to keep things going here with Batmobile. I like that name. Oh, sorry, Luke1234 writes, was there a statue of Darth Nihilus in the spot? Again, we froze on that graphic. Let me bring it up again. Because there's a couple of shots you can see right in the middle here. There's these statues in the background, and you can see them from a couple of different angles. I mean, one to me in the back, not the one closest to my finger, the one further back, that looks a little bit like maybe Plagueis. I mean, I don't know, but it's clearly something very ancient. So I don't know, but I haven't got a clear enough picture about who or what that might be. But it's clearly something significant. So I'm curious as hell. See what that's all about. Okay, next up, Batmobile writes, imagine casting Will Ferrell as Vince Vaughn's character in True Detective. He could totally pull it off, right? I'm not sure. You know, somebody brought up Will Ferrell the other day about whether he can make a big dramatic turn like Adam Sandler has. And all I've been able to say is that I can't say he can't do it, but I haven't seen anything yet that suggests he's got that natural dramatic acting gift that Adam Sandler clearly has. Now, he did that, what was it called? Everything Must Go, which was, he was good in it, but like not Adam Sandler in Reign Over Me good. So I love Will Ferrell. I'll watch him all the time. But I don't know if he's got that natural dramatic gift that Adam Sandler has. So I don't know if he could pull that off. We'd have to wait and see. Vince Vaughn is a very good dramatic actor. And a lot of people forget that because he's done so much comedy, but he's a very good dramatic actor. So I don't know if he could have pulled it off. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not saying he couldn't. I just don't know. Harry Mudd writes, when Gandalf visits Bilbo's home early in Fellowship of the Ring, there's a moment when the wizard bumps his head. Yep, I remember that. On the ceiling beam. The moment was authentic. If you mean authentic as in that was actually done on accident, I'm not sure. Because okay, I could be wrong. I thought that happened in the book. I could be wrong about that, but I thought that happened in the book. But whatever, it's little things like that, whether it was authentic and it happened naturally or they just planned it. It's little details like that that just make it feel, well, as Rob would say, verisimilitude. You know what I'm saying? God, I love the Lord of the Rings movies. Harry Mudd also writes, Ian McKellen, who portrays Gandalf in the film, took the shot while in character and did such a good job acting through the pain that Jackson kept the scene in. See, I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought that was in the book, but I might be not remembering that correctly. That's a really interesting piece of movie trivia. Of course, reminds us a little bit of the shot of the Stormtrooper in that iconic scene in the original Star Wars film when Han and Chewie are running away from the big troop of Stormtroopers and one bangs its head, but they totally gloss over it. Reminds me of that. So that's an interesting piece of trivia, Harry. Thanks for sharing that, man. Harry also writes, hello, Rob. How's your Friday? You just missed him. But his Friday's going very well. He did, I think, his final deliverable for his Tango Shalom movie. So he's almost completely done with that film. He's been working on it for years. So I know he's feeling really good about that. Cody Cord writes, hi, John. I just saw the new A24 film by Trey Edwards Schultz called Waves. Fabulous. Finally got to see it myself the other day. And it was amazing. Made me cry. It's my number one film of the year so far. Have you seen it? And thanks. Have a great day. Yeah, it's not in my, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not in my top 10. It's not in my top 10. But when you look at the cast, I mean, I've been talking about this film for a number of weeks. Like, I've been really, really interested in this. Had a chance to see, I was very, very happy with it. It's a great small scope kind of film. Just great story, great acting, great direction. Really enjoy. Again, it's not going to end up in my top 10 of the year, but it's one that I really enjoyed. And if you guys have not even heard of it, I highly encourage, go check out the trailer. It'll sell you on it. Again, I've been talking about it for a while. Go check it out. I think you're going to have a good time. All right. Harry Mudd writes, stay at Faulty Towers, but don't mention the war. Faulty Towers with John Cleese is some of the fun, and it's so funny because one of the hardest things to make stand up over decades is comedy. The comedy in Faulty Towers totally stands up today. It totally stands up today. I mean, my goodness, the Hitler scene is one of the funniest things television has ever done. It's so good. Blake writes, rewatched episode 7 and 8 to Prime for 9. For me, there is this magic to Force Awakens that I can't really put my finger on. I think it takes me back to the hype that makes me think of Christmas, etc. I love it more each time I see it. And listen, Blake, I am with you on that on The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens to me is a movie that I appreciate. It's kind of like Man of Steel to me. I appreciate it more every time I watch it. Now, the one thing I've always said this about The Force Awakens that I don't like was the whole scene involving the Raptors and all that kind of stuff. And Kanja Club, that whole sequence didn't need to be there. I to this day, I don't like that scene. I don't like that sequence at all. You could have taken it out and the movie would have been better for it. But aside from that scene, I love that movie. It is the best of the new Star Wars movies to me. I still have it just a little bit ahead of Rogue One, but I absolutely adore that movie. I certainly like it more than Last Jedi, but I still like The Last Jedi. But yeah, Force Awakens to me, man, you're right. There's a magic to it that It's almost intangible, but I really, really love that film myself. All right, Amin writes, did you see the trailer to In the Heights? I did. In the Heights from yesterday, based on Lin-Manuel Miranda's first musical. If so, what did you think? I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it. But remember, I was skeptical about Hamilton before I finally went to the Pantages Theater in Los Angeles and watched the production of Hamilton. And it instantly became a top 3, one of my favorite musicals I've ever seen. If you guys have never had the opportunity to see Hamilton live, it's such a great experience. It really is fantastic. And there are clearly familiar DNA from the In the Heights trailer to Hamilton, but the trailer didn't really do it for me. I'm going to be honest. The trailer didn't do it for me. That said, all the stuff I heard about Hamilton didn't do it for me either till my wife dragged me out to see it, and then I fell in love with it. So here's hoping the same thing happens with In the Heights. I'm just not there yet. Not there yet. All right. Harry Mudd writes, Viggo Mortensen would wash and effect repairs on his own costume as a means of living his role as Aragorn. Not surprised. Viggo Mortensen isn't a hardcore method guy, but he's talked about how sometimes he employs method and does certain things. Not as hardcore as, say, Jared Leto does. But that's not surprising to me. We can tell stories about Lord of the Rings all the day. I mean, there's so much great about that movie and those series. Harry Mudd also writes, he would also in the lush South Island countryside where the film's dramatic and extensive exteriors were shot. He would also do what? He would also in the lush South Island countryside where the film's dramatic exteriors were shot. Not sure where you're going with that, Harry, but look, again, everything about that movie and that series is just incredible. General Kenobi writes, Mr. Jeffrey Jacob Abrams stated that the first word spoken in the 2019 film Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is at. In this clip thingy, the first word spoken is at. Coincidence? Or should I post a conspiracy theory YouTube on video? Is the first word at? I didn't pay attention to it. But that's not really a big spoiler, saying the first word in The Rise of Skywalker is at. Is it AT-AT? Is he talking, or is it, I don't know. Why not, General Kenobi? Why not? Create that theory video. Everybody else does. Go for it. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out this is exactly what JJ did. Maybe it's not. But now, here's the thing, General Kenobi. I'm going to be obsessed with waiting for the movie to start. The opening crawl is going to finish just to make sure that the first word is actually at. So we'll see. Let's see. And he says first word spoken, not necessarily the first word on the. So I'm going to wait till after the opening crawl and see if the first word is at. All right. Mr. Steele writes, remember the name. Did you know it came down to Meryl Streep and Sigourney Weaver to play Ripley? Really? Harrison Ford turned down Captain Dallas. And lastly, Weaver's Best Actress nomination for Aliens was the first ever for an actress in an action movie. Stay the Fields. I did not know that. That's a really interesting piece of trivia. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head if that's 100% true, but if it is true, if you're correct on that, then that is a fascinating piece of trivia that I really. And how different would history have been if Meryl Streep? Now, look, I'm sure Meryl Streep would have crushed it, because she is the street monster. If Meryl Streep had played Ripley, she would have done a great job and it would have been great. But it's hard to imagine anybody other than Sigourney Weaver playing it, because that's what we got. But it's hard to imagine anybody else playing it, even the street monster. It's just one of those really weird things. Good stuff there, Mr. Steele. All right, Harry Mudd writes, Zach Galifianakis' laugh from Dinner with Schmucks is so hilarious. Dinner with Schmucks is one of those movies. And a lot of you might not even remember the film because it was very forgettable. It came and went very quick. But it was a movie that was starring Steve Carell and Paul Rudd. So you got, two of the Anchorman guys back together. Zach Galifianakis had a smaller supporting role. And it was a movie I was dying to see because Steve Carell is one of my favorite comedy guys. And 40-Year-Old Virgin is my all-time favorite comedy. Of course, Carell and Paul Rudd are in that together as well. It wasn't very good. It has its moments. Dinner with Schmucks has its moments. It definitely does. It's not terrible, but it wasn't very good. But yes, I will agree with you though, Harry. Zach Galifianakis is laughing at. I can't even do it. what I can't do it properly at all, but it was really, really funny the way he would do that. I completely agree with you on that. All right, Diego Mendez writes, got to say, John, I totally disagree with you when it comes to the marketing campaign for The Rise of Skywalker. I believe it is one of the best I've ever seen, and it has made me so much more excited for the movie. Well, listen, that's key. As long as it worked for you, as long as it made you more excited for the movie, that's the key thing. For me, unfortunately, it's been different, and I'm a hardcore Star Wars fan. And maybe that's to my detriment, but I have, until this trailer, I have just not been into this. Nothing about this marketing campaign has really got the adrenaline going. There have been decent spots and decent trailers, and I like them, and they're fine, but nothing that made me want to jump out of my seat, you know? Like, yeah, like that moment, Chewie, we're home. Yeah, you want to jump out of your seat at that point. This trailer did it, but for me, it just has not lived up to that. Again, that's no reflection on the movie. It's just the marketing campaign. But that's been me. But listen, just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it's not going to work for you, and it doesn't mean it's not going to work for a lot of other people. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have loved this marketing campaign, and that's awesome. I can only speak for myself, and for myself, I haven't been thrilled with it. So, but I'm thrilled with this trailer. I'm totally thrilled with this trailer. But anyway, Diego, thanks for sharing your thoughts, man. I appreciate it. Again, I'm totally sure you're not alone. I'm sure there are a lot of people that have really enjoyed the marketing campaign so far. I just wish I was one of them. I wish I was in the club with you. That's all. All right, Harry Mudd writes, fire Kylo out the Death Star cannon. I like the Kylo character. People say, but Kylo's so annoying. I'm like, yeah, but he's supposed to be kind of annoying. That's part of what I like about him. But I mean, a lot of other people, Kylo does not work so well. Mr. Steele also writes, you say your channel is small. Well, it is. I'd rather follow you and this community with its 201,000 subscribers than follow some out there with over 1 million with lame content. This family we have here is way very fun to be around. We learn, we support, we laugh, and damn it, we're filthy. Aw, thanks for that, man. And yeah, listen. I understand. I really do. And thank you for the kind words, Mr. That means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I understand that from one perspective, my channel is huge. I get that. We get 4 to 5 million views a month. We have 200,000 subscribers. Blah. Okay, yeah. By some perspective, that's really big. But at the same time, by another perspective, it's very small. Like, I've got some friends of mine. You may have heard of them, Benny and Rafi Fine, and probably one of my best friends in Los Angeles, Soul, who is their CFO for a long time. At the Fine Brothers, he started the Fine Brothers with Benny and Rafi. I mean, the Fine Brothers started with Benny, Rafi, and Soul, or John Green is my buddy's name. And now it's this massive thing, and they get 30 million views a month. Like, I'm about to celebrate on Tuesday here in Los Angeles. We're going to have an event that a bunch of you guys are coming to called the 100 million view celebration. As we celebrate the John Campea Show crossing the 100 million view mark. And I'm excited about it. I'm thrilled about it. I couldn't be happier about it. And I'm honored by it. And it's big and it's huge to me, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. That said, there are other people out there, like my buddies, who get 30 million views every single month. So it's big by some perspectives. It's totally small and insignificant by others. And by the way, guys, as of right now, the John Campea YouTube channel is sitting at 99.8 million views, which means tomorrow is when we're actually going to officially cross the 100 million view mark. We're going to cross that threshold tomorrow. So right now we're sitting at 99.8 million views of the John Campea YouTube channel. Tomorrow we'll cross into the 100 million view. But so yeah, whether you see the John Campea channel as big, which is it's big compared to some, or really ridiculously insignificant and tiny compared to others as it is, the important thing is that we have a good community. And if we have, if we had 5,000 subscribers and a good community, I'll take that over 200,000 subscribers and no community at all. That's what I wanted when I broke out on my own to do my own thing. That's what I wanted to build. And you guys are what makes that. So thank you guys so much for that. And thank you, Mr. Steele, for the kind words. 99.8 million we're at. I again, for small fries and a fucking nobody from Canada, that to me, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. And again, I acknowledge compared to many YouTube channels that I am completely small potatoes and insignificant in numbers. But for me, I am still having a hard time wrapping my head around this 100 million view thing. I mean, I thought it was amazing when we did it at AMC theaters. I still remember when we crossed the 100 million view mark at AMC theaters. It was crazy, but I don't know that I ever thought we would get to 100 million views when I broke out on my own. So anyway, there's that. Okay. Avidu Valanu writes, I'm sure I butchered that name, but I'm doing my best. Would splitting the director award into male and female solve the issue? No. It sounds logical to me the same way all actor awards are male and female. No, I disagree with that 100%. This has been something that's come up before. And I'll tell you why right now. The reason I'm okay with there being a best male and best female acting awards is because of this. Newsflash, men and women are different. And so portraying, we are different. As genders, we are different. Obviously many similarities, but we're also very, very distinct creatures. And so portraying a female character, I believe is a very different and specialized art than portraying a male character, which in and of itself is a very different and specialized art. And because I see the two, and I'm not saying anybody else should see it this way, I'm just saying that's me, because I see that as such a distinction and such a different thing to do, I'm good with there being a best actress and a best actor categories. I'm good with both of those. I wouldn't lose any sleep if they got rid of the distinction and said best overall performer, male or female. I wouldn't object to that, but to me that works. Because portraying a male character in a lot of different ways is a different task than portraying a female character. And because I see such a distinction, I'm okay with there being two separate things. However, that's out the window. When it comes to directing a movie, that's out the window. You have the exact same job when you're directing a movie. The director has the exact same goal and the exact same job to do, whether you're a male director or a female director. When you're writing a script, you have the exact same job to do, whether you're a male writer or a female writer. When you're editing a film, you have the exact same job to do, whether you're a female editor or a male editor. When you're composing music for a movie, you have the exact same job, whether you're a female composer or a male composer. When you're doing cinematography in a movie, you have the exact same job, whether you are a male cinematographer or a female cinematographer. So I don't believe in any of those categories you should have male and female distinctions. I do believe, though, when it comes to acting, I see a drastic distinction between what is required and what you need to do to really portray a female character versus what you really need to do portraying a male character. And I'm sure there'll be many who disagree with me. And maybe I'll change my mind 5 years. Maybe 5 years from now, I'll have a totally different perspective. I'm not going to die on this sword. I'm just saying that's how I kind of see it right now. But directing is a totally different thing than acting. And it's the exact same job, whether you're a female director or whether you're a male director. Whether you're Patty Jenkins or whether you're Christopher Nolan, you have the exact same job. Acting, I see there being a little bit of a different job. So anyway, that's just me. So no, I would never, ever, ever endorse, at least not right now, I would never endorse the idea of having a best male director and a best female director category. I just don't believe in that. I think what we need is more opportunities being given to female directors. And as more opportunities get given to female directors to direct films, you're going to start to see them more represented in awards. But that's got to come first. More opportunity has to come first. Then once we get settled with the problem of not giving them enough opportunity, then you're going to see that starting to reflect in the awards more. So anyway, that's just me. Avidu also writes, If you live in a world where the Force is real, would you be upset if you didn't have it? I would go mad. People around me would have it. I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing as any kind of trait, right? Like, let's face it, I am stunningly handsome. But let's say, I mean, I look at guys like a Brad Pitt or and Antonio Banderas, or or Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Jason Momoa. These guys who just have so much natural good looks. That, I mean, good looks is different from the Force, but it goes to the point. There are traits that people have that maybe I don't, that I look at and go, damn, I wish I had some of that. Damn, I wish I had some of that. Me and my face for radio. Wouldn't it be great if I had Jason Momoa's good looks? Wouldn't it be great if I had Javier Bardem's good looks? Wouldn't it be great if I had like Denzel Washington's devilish good looks? Wouldn't it be great? I mean, we have that. Or I hear somebody who can sing, like Josh Groban. Man, wouldn't it be great if I could sing like that? So, yes, if the Force was around and there were some people who had it and I was one of the people that didn't, I can already understand how I would feel about it, because I already feel that way about other certain traits that we could have. Alex Haina writes, those who don't understand how Steve Trevor is alive either don't know who Pedro Pascal is playing or don't know what his powers are. I think he's making Diana think he's back. He's creating this reality for her, making her greatest wish come true. Alex, I think you are getting way ahead of yourself. You are making suppositions. You're making assumptions, I should say, because of something that there is in the comic book. People make this mistake all the time. A comic book movie is coming out and I hear a million people go, oh, well, this is obviously happening here because in the comics, blah, 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 only to find out that just because something's in the comics doesn't mean shit. Comics are the comics, movies are the movies. Sometimes they are consistent and sometimes they aren't. What I would suggest, Alex, is be very hesitant to make any assumptions just because something is done a certain way in the comics. Because as we've seen in every movie, every comic book movie, they don't always, every comic book movie other than Sin City, they don't normally stick to the comics. So just be careful, brother, about making those assumptions. Now, it could be, absolutely it could, but don't bet the bank on it, because what happens in the comics happens in the comics. It doesn't mean that's the way they're going to do in the movies, and we've seen that play out 1,000 times. So just be careful about jumping too hard to any conclusion there, my friend. Just be careful, Alex. All right. Zombie Cubed writes, what if Palpatine could not only make Kylo hear voices, but he can also alter memories or perceptions? Make Ben's story more tragic, even if still irredeemable. Either way, shows how Sheev has been running the lives of Skywalkers since Anakin's conception. It's true, that could be a possibility. That is a possibility. I mean, if he can make him think one thing, if you can make him hear one thing, maybe you can make him think one thing as well. So it would drastically expand. I mean, look, I just think this trailer itself drastically expands our understanding of the story already. And if it were to go that far, it would, as you're saying, it would do that as well. So yeah, absolutely. Farlow126 writes, I was very nervous about how Palpatine was going to be handled in Rise of Skywalker. After seeing yesterday's TV spot, I am 100% on board, which is, Farlow, another reason why I'm not sure they didn't lead with something like this. Because I think there's a lot of people who have been apprehensive. Like, I think the vast majority of the movie-going audience who aren't involved in these online discussions were thrilled to see that Palpatine was back. But there's a lot of people in the online world that were still very hesitant about it. And I think if they had led off with a trailer like this, I think it would have made, maybe not won everybody over, but I think it would have made a lot of people feel a lot better about it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'll have to wait to see how that goes. Suthius writes, what's with all these comedians on the Mando? Not sure, man. Not sure. Mandalorian clearly doesn't like droids at all. LOL. Wow. Listen, and that is something they're going to have to address at some point. Because Mandalorian's gone out of their way a number of times, Suthius, to point out that he really doesn't like droids, that they've clearly done enough that it's going to become that's going to be a revelation at some point as to why that's the case. And I think this last episode that came out today probably held some hints in there about it. We'll find out soon enough. Darth Impact writes, "Hey John, I'm a super chat some movie reboot remake ideas to see what you think of them." Well, I'll tell you right now, Darth Impact, my underlying foundation is you can reboot anything. I think anything can be rebooted, and I'm okay with it. Because if you make a good reboot, yay, another good movie to celebrate. If you make a bad reboot, oh well, we still have the original. That's my overall feeling. Anyway, remake Trading Places starring Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart. Again, now you're also doing X actor and Y role. I like Ryan Reynolds, I like Kevin Hart, so sure, why not? Suthius writes, "Hey guys, I've been binging Hell's Kitchen, currently on season," I know where this is going, "currently on season 13, every dinner service of every episode of every season, there is at least one actor or actress or producer or director dining, the likes of Paul Feig, Minnie Driver, and the great Stan Lee." Really? I don't know that I've ever noticed that. And I've watched a bunch of Hell's Kitchen. I don't know if I've ever noticed that. I certainly don't remember Stan Lee being... that might be one I've missed. I don't remember seeing a Stan Lee one, Suthius, but now you give me something that I need to rapidly go out and try to find. Hey, if any of you guys have a link to an episode of that where Stan Lee is in, I'd love to see it. Because clearly I missed out on that one. I would love to see that one. Darth Impact writes, "Remake, Look Who's Talking, rated R version, bringing back Bruce Willis as the voice of Mikey." Interesting idea, why not? Quinn Allfather69 writes, "I think The Mandalorian has to be viewed as an episodic Star Wars adventure and not a 4-hour movie like the Kung Fu TV show back in the day." Yeah, that's becoming clear. However, even as an episodic show, you have to have purpose to each episode. You have to develop something, reveal something, evolve something, or give us an overall understanding of the direction of a story, even in an episodic thing, which is something they did do in today's episode, but something that they completely failed to do in last week's episode. There is obviously an overarching story with the baby, and there's a bounty on it. That's an ongoing thread throughout the story that I'm sure they're going to bring to conclusion, or at least something of a conclusion, in the next couple of weeks. But even when you're doing that, you have to give me a reason why this episode exists. And last week's episode simply didn't do it. This week's episode did. So anyway, that's just my feeling on it. But I see where you're coming from in that, Quinn Allfather. I really do. And I think you're onto something there. All right. Topher Rocks writes, "My top 9 TV characters. 1, Walter White. Number 2, Larry David. Number 3, Sylar. That's, of course, from Heroes. Number 4, Jon Snow. Number 5, Ron Swanson. I love Ron Swanson. Number 6, Dexter Morgan. Number 7, Jesse Pinkman. Number 8, Gus Fring, who we're going to see in Mandalorian here pretty soon. And number 9, Jim Harbaugh." Really? See, I like Stranger Things, and I like David Harbour's character. I don't really... Personally, I don't see anything in there to make him so big. For me, you got to add in there, even though it's a recent thing, I would absolutely add in Lucifer Morningstar from Lucifer. I love that character. I don't know that it's my number 1, but it's right up. It's certainly my favorite character on TV right now. And by the way, there's been some whispers about a possible Dexter revival. I'd be down. Sign me up. I am totally down for a Dexter revival. If they ever decide they want to do that, man, I'm on. And of course, Ron Swanson is one of the greatest of all time, Topher. So I'm with you on that. Nice list, my friend. All right. Darth Sidious writes, "Hey, John, I'm just wondering if the reason why you don't like the more recent DC animated movies and TV shows would be because you think that they job Superman and Batman in them when they don't. No, I just don't. I just think they suck. They're just bad. Those are things. Look, whenever I express a negative opinion about something, that's just me expressing that it did not work for me. It's not a commentary on on anybody else liking it. Like if I don't like it, I'm not saying you're dumb if you like. Not at all. Not at all. I'm just telling you how the show struck me. Doesn't mean how it struck you. So nobody take this personally, because we as film fans, you didn't like a movie I love, and you insulted me. Don't take it that way at all. I'm just talking about how I took it and whatever. To me, they're drivel. I'm sorry, but to me, these cartoons are drivel, both the Marvel ones and the DC ones. Now, there are some exceptions. I say that every time. There are a couple of exceptions. But for the most part, they're again, I just go back to the word drivel. There's something they wrote over lunch and then whipped it together and put it out. There's no thought to them. They're just absolute nonsense. And if they work for you, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm just telling you the experience I have with them. And I think they're totally terrible. They're just awful, not worth watching. But anyway, again, there are exceptions, but it's not because maybe they job Superman, maybe they job Batman, which I don't really recall them ever really doing, but it's just because they're bad. They're very low. They're bottom of the barrel, low quality, with lowest common denominator, most rudimentary story stuff. Just doesn't work for me. And if you are somebody that has watched them and you've had a totally different experience with them and you find them to be quite sophisticated and whatever, that's great. I celebrate that. But it's not the experience I had. So it is what it is. All right. Ian Schindler writes, I'm a big fan of Filoni's work, but must agree that his 2 Mandalorian episodes weren't the best. But isn't judging him as a live action director now sort of like judging rookie quarterback after a second game? Just compare 1st and 5th seasons of Clone Wars. No, listen. No, what I have never said, I've been very, very careful about this, Ian, that I'm not saying he can't ever be a good live action director. What I am saying is I believe these episodes of Mandalorian has proved is that he is not right now ready to direct a live action Star Wars movie or ready to, like, some people say, Dave Filoni should head up Star Wars. No. Maybe someday. But right now, he just fundamentally, clearly doesn't have a solid grasp of understanding about how to tell stories in a live action environment. Because the ones he's directed so far, and I didn't mind the first one. I liked the first episode of Mandalorian, which he directed. I liked it. It's my second least favorite episode, but I didn't mind it, actually. His last episode was terrible. I think what this has proved, though, is right now, Dave Filoni is in no place to head up a live action story group or to write the feature live action stuff, or heaven forbid, direct the live action stuff. Not yet. But I have always contended that him directing things like episodes of The Mandalorian and getting involved in this is a good part of his process, that maybe at some point he can be that guy. So absolutely. So, like, we can look at a young rookie quarterback that look like, I think Troy Aikman, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Hall of Fame quarterback, Troy Aikman, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe his first season as quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, I believe they lost every game except one. I think they only won one game that year. Might have been none. But anyway, so you're not judging him on that performance. That's not because he went on to become a Hall of Fame quarterback. But was he ready to be the starting quarterback of a Super Bowl team that year? No, he was not. He was not ready yet. He would become that, but he was not ready yet. And my whole point about Dave Filoni is always, see, some people misrepresent what I said, and they say, like, oh, John doesn't like Dave Filoni. That's not true at all. I like Dave Filoni very much. But my point has been, with all these people going, Dave Filoni, because I like his cartoon, so he should run everything with Star Wars. All I've been saying for years is that he is simply not ready. And these episodes of Mandalorian have proved that he's not ready yet. He could get there. Troy Aikman lost almost every game in his first season. He went on to win multiple Super Bowls and is a Hall of Fame quarterback. And Dave Filoni could do the same thing. I'm not saying he doesn't have that potential. All I've been saying for all these years is that he isn't there yet. Just because you like some cartoons he makes does not mean he is the guy. And I think these episodes of Mandalorian have proved that for right now. But another thing is, I think these episodes of The Mandalorian are going to make him better. I think these experiences he's had making these episodes, I think being exposed to doing stuff like that, and I think the criticism that he's getting for it is all going to be stuff that makes him better. So, in 5 years, could he be the guy? In 10 years? In 15 years? In 4 years? I don't know. I think he could still get there. All my point is, Ian, is that he ain't there today. He's not there today, but I've always said he could get there. And I think all the stuff he's going through right now is only going to make him better. I think it's only going to make him better because these are experiences he's never had before. All right. Anyway, Menji420 writes, Definitely give My Hero Academia a chance. There's another endorsement for My Hero Academia. A world where 80% of the population have powers. A boy without a power wants to go to the best school for heroes, and his story towards becoming the number one hero. I never knew that. Honestly, Menji, out of everything anybody's ever told me about My Hero Academia, that is the most interesting thing. I've never known that. Seriously, of all the people who've always talked to me about My Hero Academia, how great it is, how I should check it out, blah, 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 that is one thing nobody's ever told me about. That the main character of the story is about the kid in a world where everybody's got powers, or almost everybody does. This kid doesn't, and he goes on to become the... See, that's fascinating to me. That has done more to motivate me to go and check out this show than anything else anybody's ever said. Hell, after I watch 6 Underground today, I might go and watch a couple episodes of My Hero Academia today. That was a great sales pitch. That was a great sales pitch, sir. All right. Jordan writes, De Niro, great in Irishman, only 5 slots, stacked category, Driver, Phoenix, DiCaprio, Murray, Egerton, and Sandler give flashy performances. Perhaps voters don't love De Niro's performance enough. He's really good, but does he have to be part of the 5? He doesn't have to be, no. And remember, Jordan, the people who didn't nominate him are actors. It's the Screen Actors Guild. It's the SAG members, of which Robert De Niro is a part. So it's not like SAG doesn't know a good performance. No, they're the actors. It's made up of all actors. It's professional actors. That's who the Screen Actors Guild is. Of which Ryan Reynolds is a part, and Robert De Niro is a part, and Joe Pesci is a part, and Al Pacino is a part, and Daniel Day-Lewis is a part, and all that kind of stuff. So it's the actor. They know what good acting is. But in their opinion, it gets edged out, as you pointed out, Jordan, in a very stacked category. But does it? No. Listen, I'll tell you what. If De Niro doesn't get an Academy Award nomination, it doesn't devalue The Irishman at all. It doesn't devalue it at all. I'll still be surprised by it, but it won't diminish it at all. Another Skywalker writes in a really large tip to the channel. Thank you, Another Skywalker, for your support on that level, man. Seriously, it's just... Thank you. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you very much. Anyway, and I am clearly going to answer this. If it's a question, I haven't read it yet. If this is a question, I will answer it in its own standalone video. So let's get to it and see what you're saying. Hey, John, I was just wondering if you planned on interviewing actors at some point in the future. Is it difficult to get them to agree? Is it easy when they have a project that's about to be released? How does that work? By the way, I like the third Matrix film. And listen, it's all subjective, man. You are not alone. There are other people who like the third Matrix film, so don't you feel embarrassed about that. All right. I will go into a more in-depth answer on this, Another Skywalker, in your own standalone video, which I will do today. By the way, now I've got 4 that I need to do. So we've had a couple building up, so I've got 4 to do. I'll do those later today. But on one hand, it's easy to get interviews. If you're somebody in my position, it's easy to get interviews if you just go and get those interviews at the press junkets. Because, you know, for most movies, they have one big press day. Well, they'll have multiple press days, but they'll have one in particular where it's a junket where they'll have all the different stars and directors in different rooms in a hotel. And you go one by one to each room and do a 3-minute, you get 3 minutes with them. You do a 3-minute interview with each, and then you leave with all these interviews. I used to go to those all the time, but I found that they're useless. So I stopped doing them. Could I get back on those lists? I could. I could probably get back on the press junket list if I wanted to. But just getting outside of the press interviews, outside of the press junket interviews, it's really hard to get those people. And I'll go more into that when I answer your video on its own video. So again, Another Skywalker, thank you for sharing that, man. And thank you for supporting the channel on that level. All of us here really appreciate it very, very much. All right. Peter Pablo Reviews writes, I hold your opinions in high regard, even when I don't agree with you. You inspired me to create my channel, and now I'm 2 months in the movie review game, and I want you to know that you're my mentor, even though we've never met. Hashtag strengthen our will. That's good to hear. Because seriously, Peter, one of the things I'm always encouraging people in the film fan community to do is to get involved. Start a blog. Look, start a podcast, start a YouTube channel. And it doesn't matter if anybody watches it. or listens to it or reads it. It doesn't matter if you have 10 people reading it. It doesn't matter if you have 10,000 people reading it. The important thing is you're getting involved and you're having fun, getting more involved in the film fan community, and you're adding your voice to the conversation and giving another touchstone spot where other film fans can come around, whether it's 10 or 10,000, can come around and talk about movies and the things that we love. It's just a good thing to do. And so I'm really glad you got involved in that, Peter, and I hope you're having a good time doing it, my friend. All right. Carlos Sosa writes, "Hey, John, I have a theory for episode 9. Kylo and Rey versus Dark Rey while Duel of the Fates is playing. Do you have any clue how they might use it?" Oh, no idea. I don't get into, I'm not going to speculate about how they're going to do something that I don't even know that they're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a bad theory, Carlos. Could happen, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of, well, this could happen. And if that could happen, how would they do that? Which creates another infinite set of possibilities. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But sure. Again, look, there's still a lot of people. The Dark Rey image that we saw in that one teaser a while ago is still perplexing a lot of people. Is it just a vision? Is it just a nightmare? Is it a real thing? Is it a clone? Is it a cousin? Is it a Tinder date? Is it, I mean, I don't know. And if it's a more physical thing, not just a nightmare, could Rey fight that Rey? Maybe. And if Rey fights that thing, could Rey and Kylo fight that thing? Really? Maybe? I don't know, but it just opens up a lot of possibilities, but it's something that could happen. Carlos also writes, "Hey, John, were you able to check out the Rise of Skywalker vintage collection, Hot Toys collection?" No, I did not yet. I have not. Also, going to Disneyland this weekend. You know what? I'm going to Disneyland this weekend. Yep. When am I going? I'm going Sunday morning. Ann and I and a few friends of ours, we're all going down to Anaheim to go to Disneyland. So if you're around on Sunday, keep your eye open. You might see me wandering around with a big frosty glass of blue milk myself. So just keep your eyes open for that. It's a good time. All right. Simon Thompson writes, "You, the entire crew, are my Siskel and Ebert." Oh, thanks so much, man. Love what you bring to movie fandom. Very inspiring. What movie had the strongest impact on your life? Oh, that's easy. It's the original Star Wars. The original Star Wars it's the movie. Listen, my earliest childhood memory is my mom showing me Star Wars. And it's not until years after that that I have my next earliest memory. I named my cat Luke Skywalker. It was my first pet that I remember was a cat, and I named it Luke Skywalker. And I still remember where I was as a little kid when I heard that they were going to do another Star Wars movie. What? This is before the world was sequel, happy. It inspired my love of movies. It ignited my imagination and has continued to ignite my imagination for over 40 years. There's just nothing that has ever had a deeper, more profound impact on me than Star Wars. It is literally the movie that set me on the path of doing what I do now with my life. And that's all Star Wars, man. It's all Star Wars. And I could go on that with hours, but that's what it has meant to me. Thanks for asking, Simon. I appreciate that. Harry Mudd writes, happy Friday the 13th. Is today? Oh, it is Friday the 13th. I didn't even realize that. Hope the day has been lucky. It's been pretty good so far, Harry. I hope you're having a good one too, my friend. All right. Superior Samways writes, dying to find out how many midichlorians. Oh, dude, why'd you have to go there? We were all having such a good day, Superior Samways, and you had to go and do that. I wonder what her midichlorian count is. Suthius writes, finished binging season 4 of The Expanse. Let me tell you, amazing 10 episodes to say the least. I'm so happy. I didn't even know it dropped yet. I'm very excited to get on board. That's one of the shows that you guys got me to check out. Harry Mudd writes, my beard is mightier than Thor. I don't know what that's from, to be honest with you. Anonymous writes, how you describe Jumanji 2, enjoying it, and then last 1/3 feeling what's good has played out. That's how I feel about Robert De Niro in Irishman. I don't know, because it's still the character, but I can see that because, listen, the movie runs so long. It just runs so unnecessarily long that everything starts to feel a little bit played out. And that's why, while I still think the movie is great, It would have been as great, if not greater, if they took about 30 to 40 minutes of the unnecessary stuff out. I think it would have added to the movie if they, again, you didn't have to make it 2 hours long, but you could have made it 3. And I think it would have been equally as great, if not better. But that's just me. Ben Rayner writes, spoiler chat for Jumanji this weekend. Yes, we will be doing an open spoiler discussion for Jumanji this weekend. I haven't decided on the exact time yet. It'll probably be Sunday evening. So keep your eyes open for that. I will be doing a Jumanji spoiler chat. So thank you for bringing that up, Ben. I forgot to announce that earlier. So thank you for mentioning that. Ryan Cleary writes, hey, John, thoughts on Jack Black retirement announcement? I have not heard that. Is that new? Let me just check something here. I've lost my mouse. I don't know where my mouse is. There it is. My mouse disappeared. Let me bring this up here. I have not heard anything about Jack Black retiring. If Jay Black is indeed Jack Black. I'm not seeing anything in the news feeds. The first thing that's come up is Jack Black slams talk of earlier retirement as fake news. So I haven't heard anything about that, but apparently he's saying he's not retiring. So there's that. Let's see. Harry Mudd writes, Danny Glover is not too old for this shit. That's true. I still love Danny Glover. I love seeing Danny Glover on screen. I really do. And it was a big kick seeing him in Jumanji 2. And I liked, he's not in the movie much. It feels like he's in the movie a lot, but he's not, himself is not actually in the movie all that much. But I still am a big fan of Danny Glover. I love seeing him and stuff. All right, Intellectual Pizza writes, went to watch a movie at Regal last night and commercials and trailers went on 30 minutes before the movie started. Horrible. No wonder attendance is down. Intellectual Pizza, this is a campaign that I am going to start to mount. I'm going to try to get more people involved in it, that this is bad for the movie business and it's bad for moviegoers. You tell us a movie starts at a certain time and we pay you money to be there, then you start that movie when you tell us the movie is starting. And if you want to have a whole bunch of trailers, fine, give us 2 start times. Say, presentation starts at 7, movie starts at 7:25. But you tell us, we're paying you money to come to your theater. You owe us to tell us when the damn movie starts. It's that simple. You owe that to us. We're paying you money. Don't tell us when the commercials start. Tell us when the movie starts. Anyway, I'm going to go on more about that in the coming days, Intellectual Pizza, because I am going to try to start a campaign and see if I can get people to jump on board and support me in it. Anyway, that's just me. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, one of my Danny Aiello favorites is Sergeant Aiello. Yes, really. In Once Upon a Time in America, a small role in a 4-hour movie, but he owns everything. I'll tell you what, Ryan, I straight up forgot that he was in that. Straight up forgot. I did not remember him being in that at all. And it's only now that you're saying that I'm starting to maybe recollect, but I totally forgot about that. I love it when we start to celebrate a certain actor's career and somebody brings up some roles that you totally forget that they did. So that's a good one. Thanks for sharing that one, Ryan. I appreciate that. Suthius writes, first saw Poulter in Narnia. Oh, I forgot he was in that one. That's another one I totally forgot he was in. Yeah, that's a good one too. Deads 1980 writes, off topic, but has there been any word on the Eric Powell Goon movie with Paul Giamatti and Clancy Brown? Been years since I heard anything. It's a movie topic. You're not off topic. I don't know anything about it. I myself not heard a thing, but listen, if any of the rest of you guys have heard anything more about it, please jump down to the comments section and answer that question for him, because I'd be curious to know too. But for myself, I've not heard anything more about it at all. Suthius writes, OMG, Papa Palpatine's score in this spot chills. I totally agree. One of the many, many things that I really liked about this trailer. Midnight Madman writes, what's your take on the director's cut label? I'm not a fan of director's cuts. There is one version of the movie, and that's the movie that was released theatrically, period. Theatrics cuts can be interesting to watch and all that kind of stuff, but the movie is the movie that was released. That's my take on it. Betula writes, hey, John, first post by a longtime fan from UK. Well, thank you so much for being a fan. I appreciate that. I feel the new Star Wars Rise of Skywalker TV spot opens up an acceptable route for the redemption of Kylo. Not just a spoiled brat or inherently evil kid, but someone groomed and corrupted all his life. Love your thoughts. I mean, you're not wrong. Listen, this whole thing about what we hear Palpatine saying is this, I've been kind of, what is it that Blofeld said in Spectre to James Bond? It's been me the whole time, James, the architect of all your pain. It's kind of like that, right? Listen, I've been saying this whole time, you can't do Kylo Ren redemption. I still don't like the idea of them doing a Kylo Ren redemption. But that said, if they can effectively paint a picture, Batula, of Ben, as a victim of the manipulation and machinations of an Emperor Palpatine, if you can effectively do that, it may create sympathy for the character amongst the audience, maybe even me. And sympathy is the starting block of the possibility of a redemption arc. If there's no sympathy for the character, there can be no redemption arc. If you can properly paint a picture of Ben now, not as a kid who broke bad, but rather as a victim, if you can do that effectively and make us feel sorry for or empathy for that character, then maybe it opens up a doorway for a redemption arc. I still don't like it in theory. But I'm telling you, that dialogue that we heard from Palpatine in this trailer opens a lot of doors of possibilities. And that is definitely one of them. All right. Anonymous writes, watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 3 times. Now I love it, and I think the movie is a masterpiece as a dark comedy. In contrast, Endgame is an overlong mess, only worth watching the final hour. I hope Brad and Leo win the Oscar. I just love Tarantino's style. Neither one of them are my front runners for the Oscar. And listen, I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've seen it a couple of times. I believe it suffers a lot from what Irishman said. There were so many unnecessary scenes in that movie. There are entirely unnecessary characters in the movie. Too long of like, I lost track of how much screen time is just driving in a car. Look, everybody, look how I made Hollywood look like it was the 1960s again. Yes, Quentin, we got it. We understood that the first 15 times you did it. I just have some real issues with that movie. Again, I don't dislike Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I like it. And the performances are gangbusters. I am totally in support of Leo and Brad getting nominations. They may not be my front runners to win, but I totally support both of them getting nominations. But yeah, it's just not in the top half of my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies. It's actually in the bottom half. Still decent, still good. I enjoy, like I said, I went back to watch it a couple times, but yeah, not one of my favorites, but that's just me. But yeah, I totally hope both of them get Academy Award nominations. I really do. I honestly do. All right. Gabriel Reed writes, I'm 26 years old, and John revealed the other day that Santa isn't real. Well, I went to the mall the other day, and guess who the F was there? There you go. It has been disproven, Gabriel. You totally nailed it. You totally nailed it. It is funny how many, no, seriously, you would be surprised how many emails, tweets, and comments I got from people about that whole Santa comment. I'm not kidding. It's hilarious. Anyway, thanks for sharing that. Guess who the F was there? I like the way you put that. That was funny. R. Lee writes, I'm sure you're sick of this topic, but I just read Bob Iger and Martin Scorsese are to meet to discuss his Marvel comments. Is this necessary? Thoughts on this? No, I don't. I totally don't think it's necessary. Ooh, somebody had an opinion that isn't the same opinion we have. Oh, the disaster. And look, I didn't like Scorsese's opinions either. I didn't like what he said. I think there were other ways he could have said that. And since then, he's kind of backtracked those and qualified his statements. And I think it's fine. To me, it's a dead issue. So I got a feeling if Martin Scorsese and Bob Iger are getting together, it ain't just to talk about those comments. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you it ain't just about that. But honestly, to me, R. Lee, I really do think it's a dead issue. It's something we shouldn't even be worrying about right now. But let's see what happens. All right, Jude Auditor sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Jude, for supporting the channel. Hi, John and crew. Love the show. Thank you so much, Jude. I had a dream where Lucasfilm announced that the next Star Wars trilogy, the story will follow two powerful and charismatic Jedi, a Jedi Master played by Keanu Reeves and a Jedi Knight played by Henry Cavill. Sign me up. That's what we call a good dream, Jude. That's what we call a good dream. And by the way, we are distracted from the issue right now because we do have Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker coming out next week. So right now we are distracted from the issue of, hey guys, what the hell's going on with 2022? We know it's not going to be the supposed Rian Johnson trilogy, which I don't think is actually happening. We know it's now not the Benioff and Weiss thing. So is December 2022 still going to be a Star Wars movie? And all of us are ignoring that question right now because we've got Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. But once that movie comes out, man, they're going to start having to come up with some answers. Are they keeping that date? Are we getting a new Star Wars movie? Or are you going to put it off a couple more years? I'm cool either way. I mean, I would like to get a movie in 2022, but I'm cool either way. But I think they're going to have to then start addressing that. Right now, we're all distracted by this big shiny thing over here, Rise of Skywalker, which is understandable. But pretty soon they're going to have to address that question. And we'll see if it pays off. All right, thanks for sending that in, Jude. All right, Lewis Dotson writes, Crisis feels underwhelming because it feels like there's information the characters know that we aren't being told. Feels like a huge twist incoming, and that may not hit for that reason. I don't know if that's the problem, Lewis. Like, my whole problem with it has been, besides the fact that it's poorly written and they're just throwing a bunch of stuff in there just for the sake of having it there. Look, everybody, it's Tom Welling. Ooh! He was totally unnecessary to be there. Yes, but he's from Smallville. Yeah, I know, but there was literally no point or purpose of him being there. Like, to me, it feels small. Despite the fact that this is a story that's supposed to be about saving the entire multiverse, it feels small. It feels inconsequential. It feels badly written. It feels like they're just throwing it. Like, I love seeing Lucifer in there, but there was no purpose for him being there. But John, they needed him to get to Purgatory. Yeah, but the whole Purgatory thing ended up being a pointless side thing. And they didn't need that to do it. He was in there for 90 seconds and gone. It just doesn't feel big. It certainly doesn't feel well thought out. And it doesn't feel like it has scope. And it doesn't feel like it has significance. It literally feels like just a side story. Yeah, now episodes 2 and 3 were a little bit better than episode 1. But who knows? Maybe they can finish it off strong, Lewis. I hope they can. I really do. I don't know. All I know is that I've been it is my least favorite of the Arrowverse crossovers they've ever done. I mean, it's supposed to be their biggest and best one, but for my money, Crisis on Earth X still dances circles around it. Crisis on Earth X was by far I think the best one they've done, and it still dances circles around it. But who knows? We've got 2 more episodes to go, picking up in January, and maybe we'll find out, Mr. Dodson, that you were right. So let's keep our eyes on the prize, see what happens there. All right, Neil the Sphinx writes, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance is now open at Galaxy's Edge in Florida, and it looks awesome. It opens in California on January 17th. So what will you do now? Will you impulsively book a trip to Florida, or will you force yourself to wait another month? I'll wait. I've got a Disney pass here. Ann and I broke down and bought ourselves annual Disney passes when Star Wars emptied my bank account, and bought myself a Disney annual pass when they opened Galaxy's Edge. But man, the thing I've been waiting for is this ride. Everybody, I've seen all the reviews for this ride. By the way, I love the Smuggler's Run ride. Ann and I do that ride every time we go. I love that one. But everybody's saying this is the ride. I've seen the reviews for it, of all that kind of stuff. I've seen some of the footage from it. It looks spectacular. I cannot wait. But I will wait till it comes here. I spent way too much money on my annual pass to go somewhere else for it. So I'll wait patiently for a couple more weeks. All right. Jaron Lucas writes, my girlfriend says I watch too much Mandalorian. Break up? Oh, yeah. But by the way, listen, it's 6 half-hour episodes. My God, right now, The Mandalorian is shorter than The Irishman. Wrap your head around that. As of right now, The Mandalorian is shorter than one movie in The Irishman. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what problem she could have with it. All right. Jesse writes, 1 of 2. John, my family's cable bill is almost $140 a month. I want to give YouTube TV a try, but my issue comes with the streaming aspect. I live in a rural area and my internet is terrible. Do you think it's worth a trade-off, for less money per month, but possibly worse picture quality? Well, look, Jesse, all I can tell you is this. I would need to know what is your upload and download speed, Because I'll tell you what, when I first moved into Burbank a few years ago, when Ann and I first moved into Burbank, there was like some big problem with the cable company and we didn't get our internet in the house for like 3 weeks. And what I did was I took this little Sprint, 4G hotspot box, right? And I brought that into my apartment, and that was our internet for a while. Just this little, I went to Sprint and got like this 4G, that's a telephone service provider. I went to the cell service provider. I got a cellular hotspot box, and that was our internet. And I got 4 megabytes download. Like today, I have 400 meg download. I have 400 megs a second download. At the time, I had 4 meg download. But I connected my Roku to it via Wi-Fi, and I was able to watch Netflix 99% of the time with no problem. I was able to watch Netflix about 99% of the time with no problem. So I would suggest, I need to know what your speed is. Like if you've got like 8 or 10 megabit download, I think you're fine. Like, I don't know if you can stream 4K content, but as far as just regular HD content, you should be fine. Because like I said, I was doing with about 4.5 megabit download, and I was able to watch it okay. So it all depends on your specific speed. So if you're less than 4 megabit, you may need to stick with cable. If you can get over that, if you can get into 5, 6, 7, I think you're okay. You could at least give it a try. You could at least give it a try, and you can save yourself a lot of money on that. Anyway, let me know how that works out for you, man. That's just my thoughts on it from my experience. All right. LJ writes, Disney CEO Bob Iger teases that the James Bond franchise is something he wouldn't mind buying. Which next franchise will we purchase for Disney? Thoughts? Oh, I don't think he really will. And I don't think it's for sale. That's so Bob Iger is not about buying things for over market value. And I think the people who make Bond, especially if this Bond film does well, I don't think they'd be willing to sell Bond for under market value. And Bob Iger isn't about buying things for over market value. So, and by the way, they're really not in a place to buy anything. They spent half of their net worth buying Fox. They spent over 50% of their net worth buying Fox. So I don't think you're going to see any big major acquisitions for a little while. They need to rebuild up the coffers a little bit. So besides that, I really don't think, I don't suspect we're going to hear about any major acquisitions in the next little while at any rate because of that. All right. Nico writes, so after the new trailer, it seems Snoke's words in The Force Awakens ending, "Return to me with Kylo. It's time to complete his training," will make sense after all. I hope, at least. Like killing Snoke was the final part of Sheev's training for Kylo. Keep up the good work. And listen, don't fall into the trap, Nico. I've done this myself. I do this myself all the time, and I'm trying to break away from this habit, and you do too. You need to not write what you think needs to happen in your head. Don't do that, because you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're not giving the movie the opportunity to tell its own story its own way. Too many people, and I'm included in this, we write in our head what needs to happen. You need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need, like specific things, not just general things, specific things. And when you do that, and then the movie doesn't do it, then you walk away feeling like they didn't do the right thing. You know what I mean? That's something that we do, and we need to break that habit. So it's possibly, Nico, what you're saying is absolutely true, but I would say try to get that out of your head and not even think about it. Just go into the movie and let the movie speak for itself. Let it tell its own story, its own way, and then judge it on its own merits, not by the merits of what you pre-wrote in your head, which is something we as film fans do. All right. Mr. Omega writes, John, here are 5 movies: Jupiter Ascending, Jack and Jill, Armageddon, which I actually like, John Carter, which I love, and Sucker Punch. Can you guess what this list is? Well, I mean, Jupiter Ascending, Jack and Jill, some of the worst movies ever made. Sucker Punch is a beautiful looking movie that didn't work out well. Armageddon is a movie I actually like. It's a pleasure of mine, and I love John Carter. So, I'm trying to think if there are any common denominators in there. Nope. I don't know what the list is. You got me. Do me a favor, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com and tell me what it is, because now I want to know what the connection is. All right, final question of the day, guys. Jake Irie writes, sad to see Aiello go. Me too, man. He was brilliant in Hudson. I forgot about Hudson Hawk. His performance of Tony Five Tone was one of the performances that made the movie for me. R.I.P. And again, listen, but you know what? It is. I like what Robert said earlier today. Like, at least when it's somebody like him who passed away at the age of 86. You know, it sure beats hearing somebody like dying like at 66 or something, like somebody who's like way too young and hasn't had the full life experience yet. And Danny clearly made an impact on a lot of people. And I think you're going to see a lot of tributes over the next 48 hours about him. So I'm really glad that our last chat of the day was regarding Danny O. So thanks for sending that in, Jake. I really appreciate that. Okay, guys. That will do it for today's installment of the John, and that'll do it for this week's installments of the John Campea Show. We're now all wrapped up here, guys. Don't forget, tomorrow we will be doing an open mic. I haven't decided exactly what time, probably be around 10 or 11 a.m., but we're going to do an open mic tomorrow. So if you guys want to come and join us, by the way, you can start firing in questions right now for tomorrow's open mic by using the link in the top line of the description of this video. That typically you start firing those in, and the questions get answered first on the very next show, whether it's an open mic or the John Campea Show. So you can start doing that. And then on Sunday, we're going to do an open spoiler discussion about Jumanji, the next level. Again, I'm not sure what time that'll be, but I will post on my social media when I'm able to narrow down exactly what time we're going to do that. And then Monday, the John Campea Show, and that'll be the last show that I do before seeing Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, which I'm so stoked about. Anyway, guys, thank you all for being here today and making this film fan community a part of your day today. Thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett for bringing his glorious goodness to the show. And a special thank you to all of you guys who sent in the questions, not only because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way as you did it. And all of us here, thank you very, very much for that. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. For those of you who are Patreon supporters, meet me over at the Discord server for a post-John Campea Show chat about 15 minutes from now. And that'll do it for me. My name's John Campea, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.